Hey guys, it is 13th of June, and welcome to another episode of 4PlayerAnimecast, episode 146. We have quite a special one for you today. I am your host, Spire. Surprisingly, not sweltering in the summer heat. It's actually been, I guess in the mornings it's been, or in the noons rather, it's been pretty warm. But beyond that, not too much heat going on, but I'm assuming that's going to change and we're all going to slowly wilt under the sun once in like a month or so. But yeah, surviving out here in the quarantine bunker still. And with me are my compatriots, Near,
Hey,
Dark,
Hey,
and we almost missed him this episode, but I'm very, very, very thankful that we could get him here on time. Is our lovely and wonderful Toast.
I was promised a VTuber sidecast, not an Isekai
when?
podcast, so
We're not
I've
doing
been
What?
lied
that.
to.
Don't let Toast feed you these lies.
I mean, hey man, I'm not opposed to that eventually.
That's two. All right.
We
Near
got
you, near
time.
you in? All right.
I I don't know what
Hey,
we talk
I,
about, but
Yeah, all right.
I
See,
don't.
so now by majority vote, it's now
Just
true.
say
A
anything.
live reaction to a
so it is
13-hour
written.
Corona stream.
Oh my god. Anyways, so we are all here today, but let's, I guess, start off. Just how are your past 2 weeks been, Near?
Oh, um, keeping up with current events.
Yes.
The PS5 was revealed.
Yes.
Donald Trump declared war on his own citizens,
Yeah.
and Ram Lethal was announced for Guilty Gear. Um, so business as usual.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Also, we had a little bit of. Well, we'll talk about this later. But, anyways, keep
yeah.
going.
Other than that, I started reading a visual novel.
Oh,
Believe it or
which one?
not.
Which one? Which one?
I started reading Nana Iro Reincarnation,
No, no, you.
uh,
Oh, okay, 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 okay. Yeah, all right.
which is visual novel about like ghosts and Onis and shit.
Dude,
Um,
it's you're gonna be all set up for the new Key slash PA works
whoa,
collaboration.
dude, whoa.
You know
Um,
that's just gonna happen.
probably, but yeah, it's pretty good. I like the art. Um, the characters are fun. It's not exactly like they're not exactly the most original characters in the world, but it's
Mm-hmm.
fun. It's a very lighthearted thing so far.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
but yeah, I just got to the part where I locked into the business lady route. So
Nice.
pretty good. Um, other than that, just playing card games, the
All
usual.
right, all right. Uh, so what about you, Dark? How have your past 2 weeks been?
Yeah, been enlightening my fellow man. Uh, got back into FF14, so that's been fun.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Um, yeah, man, I've run the same boss 42 times in the last 2 days, so that's great. Just haven't got my mount yet. Um, every single time I log into this game, I get new fun stories of how fucking stupid some of these people are.
Welcome to the Final Fantasy XIV community.
Yeah, like right now, a guy locking behind a boss from 2 patches ago. He won't let a second red mage join. That's like 50 item levels out gearing. So, we're doing great.
The usual.
Real smart shit.
The usual.
Other than that, keeping up with whatever's been still ongoing.
Okay.
Obviously not started anything new. Nothing new's coming out.
Yeah, everything's delayed until I want to say July, starting from July or whatever, and that's if they have the money. And that's also going to be the worst part is the summer season stuff, like the stuff that the anime that we're like, you know what, we're in the summer and we're just gonna keep going anyways. We're gonna aim for the summer release are all also coming out in the first week of July. So there are gonna be a lot of very, very, very weird overlaps. So watch out for that, I guess. Question mark. But yeah, what about you, Toast? I am quite curious to know what you have been up to these past 2 weeks. Toast is dead.
My lawyer says I'm not allowed to speak what happened, but
Okay.
I will
Nice idea.
mention patient 0, isolation ward,
Ah.
and
Damn.
the missing children.
Okay.
That just went. Wait, the last one just went in a
No,
very different place.
I know what he's doing.
The Lost Boys.
Yeah.
That's
Dead man. He's just gonna start like mentioning like random anime that like all have like apocalyptic scenarios in them. But anyways, other than that, in terms of like anime and stuff like that, were you up to anything?
Flare's 3D stream was cool.
Oh yes, that came out today.
You noticed that Suisei's and Flare's 3D are among some of the best ones so far. Probably the best one so far.
Is that because they came out later though?
Yes.
It's usually the later
well,
ones usually come pretty.
I still think
I don't know.
2D is kind of scuffed, so
That's because
Or-
she has weird eyes.
kind of deserves it. Yeah.
And then the 3D fixed it, so
I
Yeah.
mean,
yeah.
I don't know. For me, the 3D streams have always been more about like watching the girl's mannerisms more than like, wow, look at her in 3D. You
Yeah, a
know?
lot of it's ragdoll, anyways.
Yeah.
It's very like, oh, like I'm 1 second away from imagining this 3D model getting like, run over in like GT.
Are
GT5.
any of them still like just 3? Oh, Robo.
Huh?
Like who else uses just their 3D model like all the time? Like Miko just uses her 3D model.
Tokino, Sora, Roboco, and Miko.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
about
it
it.
depends on who. Yeah.
Peko uses her 3D model for her thumbnails, but that's about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say because like same thing with like Subaru. Subaru uses her 3D for thumbnails, but like nothing else.
But yeah, there's I don't know. It's probably the difference in what they want to do or
Well,
preference, right?
I will also mention that Artia's situation is not that different from mine, but in a way that you would not expect. The way you're thinking, your first instinct is completely wrong.
Okay. Well, anyways, we'll maybe find out more about Toast secrets another
No,
time.
you won't.
But as for me, I haven't been up to too much my usual stuff. Uh, doing some translation stuff, living my life. Uh, I finally got actually some dumbbells to properly work out. That's nice. And then in terms of like, anime, like obviously again, a lot of stuff has been sort of, I want to say, stopped short, right? So I've been again kind of scrounging around in my visual novel backlog, and I've pulled out some kind of stuff, but I think I might have mentioned this in a previous episode. But right now I'm like in a place where I have like I'm like at or like I'm like halfway through or at the end of the common route for like a lot of these visual novels, right? And I'm just like, man, I don't really want to keep slogging through them or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
sure they're all good visual novels. It's just that they're just like for instance with My Tetsu, which is about like train girls essentially, right? Girls that are anthropomorphized sort of representations of old industrial trains, like steam engines and shit like that, right? I'm still like, um, I'm done with the ends, but well, it's literally like I've been reading and reading and reading, and there's this like, for instance, like one CG part, right, where they take 10 minutes, 20 minutes to just explain it, just describe how a girl kind of rows the boat across the river, and I'm just like, oh my god, like,
Sounds like a
like
Nasu visual novel.
yeah, I'm like, look, I'm okay if like I'm on this girl's route, but can we not do this during like the common route and like can we speed this things up a little bit? So I'm in like a lot of the sections where I'm stuck at. I'm like all are sections like those, or sections where it's just like come around ends and it's just like, hey, choose girl now, or whatever, right? It's like, it's not even like uh veiled selection. It's just like it'll literally be a dial or choice, like a sequence, and it's just like girl A, girl B, girl C, girl D. Choose one of them. Just like,
I
I
hate that stuff.
guess.
I mean, it works. It's
It depends.
fine.
It depends.
It
It depends. Because it's
like
like if it's like a smaller one, and then you're just like, I might as well, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a functional system that works. It's like you don't always want to have a visual novel that's like
But
um
sometimes give me a bit more subtlety if it's a longer one.
yeah, you don't want a visual novel that has like 6 different routes, and then
Yeah.
the way it presents locking in those routes is kind of like it presents situations with these girls, and then it's like it gives you the choice to lock into these routes, and then
Yeah. I
basically
think yeah.
the way you lock into a certain girl's route is by basically just saying no to every other
Yeah,
girl.
falling down the
Um,
cases, right? Falling down the
yeah.
ladder, or the
You
branches.
know, it works in a way to avoid that situation, but
Mhm.
obviously there are ways to have it be a bit more natural than just being like, here's like a menu where you just pick the girl, right?
Yeah. Well, like give us something, right? It should be relatively obvious, but give us something. But it shouldn't be like how way back in like Euphoria where we went through that one girl with the lab girls, right? And then
Yeah.
one of the last sequences, right? I think if it was a true end or something like that, right? We have to keep like picking yes, 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 yes until like no comes up or something like that, or like some shit like that, or we had to pick like yes, 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 yes 5 times, and then the girl gets tired of it and just like chucks you back into reality or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit is gay. I
Yeah.
don't support that.
Sucks.
Fuck that shit. But there should be some.
Called an Easter egg, buddy.
Sorry, go ahead. The worst part, that's actually how you progress through the route. Because it's
Yeah, that's how you complete the route.
Yeah, that's the
See,
Easter egg route.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's the
Um,
it's the Easter egg route. So we were like clicking on it. It's just like, oh, okay. But anyways, that was pretty much what I had, and probably in the next 2 weeks or so, I'm probably going to be revving back up. Or I mean, I really want to read more light novels nowadays. I kind of got, I mean, especially, I don't know. I just, well, this kind of goes into what we're going to be discussing, but I kind of have a feeling, or I kind of have an appetite for it, but then I also, like, I don't know. I feel like Mage in a Barrel when I'm saying this, but it's just like, I don't know how much value I'm going to get by going through those, right? It's just like, I'm gonna slog through 50 chapters of like an isekai, and it's just gonna be like, hey, the dude ends up with 2 girls, and it's just like, all right, bro.
Whoa.
All right. Um, what? 13 Sentinel Aegis Rim.
From what I've heard, it's good. It's not out yet
Oh,
though in
this.
the West, so
Yeah, it's so it doesn't really matter either way. But yeah, I've heard it's pretty decent. But anyways, uh, I mean, a lot of like carefully crafted time skip, or like kind of like where you like jump back between like timelines and stuff like that, usually tend to be pretty decent because they're usually the people attempting to make them are very meticulous, right?
yeah.
like
As
that
long as
usually they're like, if a person is just like, yeah, I'm just gonna make a story about overlapping or like jumping back between timelines and stuff like that, they're not like lazy people, right?
usually,
Yeah, usually
sometimes you get
but then it
timeline
becomes, yeah.
timeline shenanigans where it's just like, yeah, this is happening in this other timeline, but like, who cares until it
Well, no, no, no,
matters?
no. What I'm talking about is like as like a very like major game mechanic. Or
Yeah,
there was a game before, right? I don't know if it was like Korean or not, or if it was Japanese, but it was like there were different like story. Well, I guess this is also in multiple games now, but it's like you have to like rewrite the timelines of different people and stuff like that, right?
yeah,
So when people make that into central game design, they are usually very meticulous, right? Like
yeah.
timelines as a general plot line, like that can just go anywhere. People retards can just pick that shit up. But like as a game mechanic, then people become very picky. But anyways,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Steins Gate's the best thing ever written. I agree.
yeah, I agree. It's just it literally birthed Noitamina.
Yep.
But anyways, uh, with
So
that being
when's Meteor High coming out?
I don't care, dude.
when's High Guardian Slice coming out?
I
That's
heard.
a real
What?
question.
Why is it called Meteor High?
Because
What
they're
does it have to do with
dinosaurs.
dinosaurs? Yeah.
Meteor High? What the hell's Meteor High?
You didn't see that at the PlayStation 5 reveal?
That's, you fools.
Such
It's
furry dinosaur
Goodbye
game.
Volcano High.
Oh.
It's
Wait, what?
I think
no.
I don't remember that name. Yeah, it's Goodbye Volcano High.
Why is there a meteor on the logo? I thought it was Meteor
I
High.
don't fucking know, dude. Like, why do they all have beaks and look like shit? What do you want me to say?
Because the dinosaurs have
Not
beaks.
all dinosaurs had fucking beaks.
Hey,
Hey.
shut up!
Yeah, I'm
Anyways,
looking at the
Like, pretty much
logo. It's a
every
meteor.
fucking character in that game is fucking pterodactyl.
By the way,
Hey man, I don't make the rule. Right.
can someone explain to me why like every sort of game like this, like these days, have like the cover is like of the main character is just like sitting in front of a lawn in front of a building?
Because it's fucking
No.
wholesome, okay? Shut up.
I don't like is every just like meeting stories whatever is just gotta show that shit like.
So,
Anyways,
what does the volcano have to do with anything again?
I mean, I think it's just supposed to be like
Global warming?
Dinosaurs.
I hope the meteor kills all of the
It's
characters in
probably
the
some
story.
dumb bullshit with like Life is Strange where the meteor comes in and the meteor is a manifestation of fucking lesbian fucking
it's gonna be
drama.
like
it's
a
gonna
Who
be
tornado.
cares?
It's
anything.
gonna be
I
the
just don't
tornado.
even think.
It's gonna be
I
the
don't even think it's gonna be a real meteor. Like, I don't think it's anything gonna be a meteor. I think literally this is just going to be someone's essentially like attempt at it, like a love letter to high school nostalgia, which I find hard to believe this person actually experienced to be right.
Yeah. Maybe. I
But
don't know.
hey,
It's gonna. I hope
So,
it's gonna be like that one game where you have to like go around an empty house and like try to find shit to like uncover the plot or whatever. What was that?
it's just gonna be a fucking point and click. I was Gone Home. It's the
It
worst
was-
game ever made.
yes.
Fucking absolute scam.
Yeah, 2-second long video game.
Great.
so, when's someone gonna mod in the Majora's Mask moon on that Meteor High, Volcano High?
All right. Anyways, we
I
should
wouldn't be
get
that surprised.
yeah, we should get a move on. But anyways, so we do have a special talk ready for you guys. Mainly brought on by necessity because everything is delayed and stuff like Apararama and whatever, blah blah blah, is all coming out July and shit like that. So we have a podcast here where we're sort of doing a round table, right? We haven't done this in quite a while, right? What's the last round table?
Kantai Collection.
Kantai.
Was it really Contact? That was
I think so.
was that legit like half a decade ago, right?
Um,
I wouldn't be surprised if it was
That
5 years
was-
ago.
that was at least 4 years
2017.
ago.
Yeah. So it's been quite a while since we had a round table, and everything was different back then. But we're bringing it back now. But in this case, we're kind of going through sort of, I want to say, different themes or like general sort of like concepts, right? Things that people kind of bandy about, words, concepts that people kind of bandy about. But we're gonna try to kind of discuss it at more than a detail because you've heard us probably say these things and it's like, oh, whatever, or like kind of go into the talk. But we're gonna try to at least kind of muddle around it a little bit more, get something out of it. But yeah,
See, this is why I was told it was going to be VTubers, not
I don't know
whatever.
who told you this.
this was.
Oh, no,
Whatever
you
this
told.
was. So I came in prepared for VTubers, and now I'm
I
not.
think we had. I think you're always prepared for VTubers, though. So I don't know why you were. But anyways, you're probably prepared for this one too. And the topic is going to be Isekai. Also, sort of, I guess, if you want
What's
to call it in
that?
English, another world, right? Is this sort of thing. But that's actually a good question, and it's kind of what I want to start off with, actually. So just going around the table, and we can kind of interject or talk or whatever. I just kind of want to hear from everyone in general. what do you guys think? What defines isekai? And you can start off with like a general kind of summary of the thing, but then what I'm kind of thinking of is like, what I'm kind of thinking of is, um, going not just going beyond like literary kind of definitions, but if you guys want to talk about maybe like if it's like some sort of community, if it's like a culture, if it's some sort of weird subgenre that's dependent upon whatever mediums, like, or a combination of the above or something else, then you can also kind of describe it. So you can describe it outside of just the literary definition. Anyways, let's start off with Dark.
Um, man, I don't know. It's like,
Hold on, Spire.
what do you mean? What,
Do you-
what do you mean? What is an isekai?
hold on,
Right.
Spire. Do you want
Yeah,
the
so this could be-
categories? Because we can go
For
through the
me,
categories.
I don't
just
want the
like it's
categories. I want
Just
anything.
very like general, very
personal
general.
definition right now.
Yeah, very
For
general.
me, it's anything where the character in the show or like series itself, a character is spending more time in something that isn't their original reality, right?
Yeah.
So I'll consider anything from like sword art to more conventional like a Tome game where they're
Exactly.
transported or something. Like that.
Right.
What Dark? What is the loosest definition of isekai that you can go for? Like, what would you consider the
Like
most
loosest
outlier?
example?
The most outlier.
A story
Most
hook that's
outlier.
a story hook that is dependent upon.
I would say the biggest
character being-
outlier
yeah.
is probably one somewhat discussed, right? The
It's Alice in Wonderland and Isekai.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, I agree.
that's not an outlier. Keep going.
No, I'd say what's it called is probably my like most like it's not really an isekai. Oh, here's one that I don't really consider a full-on isekai, but it may as well be at times. What was that called? MMO Junkie. It's like half an isekai.
Is if the person goes back like way in time to some like
You mean Inuyasha?
Is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in Isekai?
Isekai, yeah.
Yeah.
If they go
No.
back in time enough to where everything is like really like changed a lot, or let's say culturally it's like so different, right? Like let's say they're chucked back into medieval Europe. Is that within like
Yeah.
You mean
I
Hot Tub
would-
Time Machine? No, I would not consider that an isekai.
I would consider it an isekai just because it's got the what I think a staple would be that determines it for me is using one staple is like using outside or like knowledge you shouldn't have to overcome shit that you know way too much about, right?
so a big
Or
thing
just like being smarter than what you should be, right?
Right.
What's her name in like mine in book. Like
I
you
think-
have more knowledge than you should. You're in a setting that you know a decent enough about.
Yeah. I think it's actually for me. This is gonna sound like a cop out, but I think it actually in that case it can be historical fiction or it can be isekai depending on what the writer wants to do, the writer's intent. Because it's like if they go back in time, or even if they go back in medieval Europe or feudal Europe, whatever, right? And then they're like, hey,
Well, to me,
well-
that's more of like the goal, right? Like if it's just trivia.
right, exactly. If they're more just like, this is how things were, all right, you're going to have to get used to it, blah blah blah. Whereas an isekai is if that was the same thing, but then the writer kind of wanted it to be an isekai, it'd be a little bit more like the MC has a lot of agency to change that world or to affect that world, right? In historical fiction, it would be much harder to affect that world because if the MC kind of comes out and he's just like, all right, I'm gonna fucking like lop off Charlemagne's head, right? Where did the
Yeah.
historical fiction go, right?
Like
As
if they
opposed to the
start,
isekai.
yeah. I don't know. It does get tricky with that. I guess it's also more of like reflective of what he's doing.
But
and
yeah,
how they interact
So
with
is
the
Paper Mario an isekai?
I mean, Mario itself is an isekai.
Yeah, dude, he's going through
Mario's
pipes into
not
different
from-
worlds.
Yeah, he's not. Well, Mario's not from Mushroom Kingdom. Mario's just a plumber from like wherever.
So Toast actually asked a good point. Are MMOs all isekai?
Yes.
Like
It
MMO
depends.
series?
A series that involves the MC playing an playing an MMO, is that all isekai?
Yes.
If the focus is the MMO, I'd say yes, because like like Dot Hack, right? Like
Mhm.
the, I
Mhm.
guess like the OG MMO series, right? Um, it's basically an isekai, right? Like you start off as the character, and then the character goes into the MMO, and then that's where he is, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I guess more specifically, I would probably describe it as there is no dependency of the plot on the outside world, if that makes sense. So it's like for instance, with maybe stuff like Bofuri or maybe some other series, right? Where the like let's say Netuju no Susume or something like that, right? No, that
right.
wasn't it. Fucking which one was the one where it was the was it Netuju no Susume, right? Where like
The one I was talking about earlier, MMO Junkie, where like a majority of their interactions are in the
Netru was the
MMO.
one. Wasn't that the one with like
Yeah,
the
it was
weird
recovery of
romance?
yeah, it was recovery of
Yeah.
we're talking about the same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But recovery of an MMO junkie or Netuju no Susume, right? In that case, there's a big dependence on the outside world, right? Like they do a lot of shit that's not in the MMO, right? They're like, haha, like let's meet in a cafe.
Yeah.
It's like what? So I wouldn't
So that's
consider that
like,
an isekai. But
yeah, I would
definitely
say
with what? Yeah.
a more contemporary example is Bofuri, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
consider Bofuri entirely an isekai because like there's literally no difference. Like they're sleeping and eating
Right,
in
right,
in the game. They're
right.
spending weeks, what feels like weeks to them, of a life in a game that's like a couple of hours.
Right.
So
So
I would
I
consider that an
I think
isekai.
the issue is probably although it's not necessarily so Session was just like, does Isekai need to lock in on world transfer, like trapped in another world? I would
No.
say that a realistic Isekai probably does. Because it's like nowadays it's probably hard to make the main character or like the cast seem realistic if let's say they're in an MMO or they're in another world, but then maybe they can get out or something like that, right? Or VR world, but then they can get out, right? And if something terrible happens in the MMO or the VR world, why would they still be in it, right? Like they just be like, "Fuck this, log out,"
Yeah.
right?
I
Well,
mean,
So
you're basically just describing Log Horizon.
yeah. No. The Log Horizon weren't they?
they get trapped, don't they?
No, yeah, they were trapped there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but like there was no like real dilemma because they were like in a game. Like couldn't they just
Yeah, they were still
respawn?
respawning.
Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like they were trapped, but it was like it was so gamey that there was no conflict because it was like I can just respawn, you know?
Oh yeah. What Took is saying, like urgency. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very. Yeah, I agree that there's not much
Yeah, I don't think there
urgency.
particularly needs to be urgency. It just needs to be more of how the characters interact with the world. Like if they're
Right.
interacting with it in a realistic way, right? Like it's not like in Bofuri, for example, or in Log Horizon, they're like opening up. At least I think for Log Horizon, right? They're not like opening up menus and fucking popping potions and shit, and like sparkles
Well,
appear
I mean,
around them
I
the
mean,
thing,
they can.
instantly
Overlord, the
eating.
menu is
Wait,
fine. The
hold
menu
on.
is
Are you
fine.
talking about Log Horizon?
Yeah.
They do a
Log
lot.
Horizon.
They do a lot of MMO stuff like that.
Yeah, they do a lot of
I
that.
A
think
lot of
the
that.
menu is fine, but it's just like if it.
Well,
I think the simplest way to say this, it's like if the MC at any point in the game is just like, well, like let's talk about this in the outside world, right? If they refer to the outside world as any sort of manner of escape or something like that, right? Then it stops becoming an isekai, I think.
Would you
I,
consider? Would you then say Inuyasha is not an isekai?
Inuyasha is 100% an isekai.
Well, she can't
It
look at
falls under the same category as something like
she doesn't have an escape rope to. I mean, like yes,
I
but she
mean,
doesn't like.
she can't log out,
Yeah,
sure, but
exactly.
like
That's the thing.
she can leave. Is the thing. Like
Yes.
if she is currently in danger, then
Yeah.
yes, there is no escape route. But
Except that one
between-
time when she was in danger by Yura the
Yeah.
hair woman and got pushed into the well and
Yeah.
disappeared.
but like in between, you know, the segments of like tension or danger, right? Like
Mhm.
there is many points in the story where Kagome is like, maybe I should just leave, right?
So maybe it's just like I think maybe an easier way to set it and kind of like define it so that kind of works is that you can't sort of arbitrarily go out at any like instant moment, right? Like let's say if some like pterodactyl or some shit in like the other world, right, is about to rear down on you, if you can just be like, all right, log out, fuck this, then it's no longer an isekai, right?
Oh,
But
I
this way,
mean,
you're always
I
you're
have
always
to
kind of
I have to
going with the
disagree because there are some certain isekai manga that have appeared recently. They have that fun option, and
I mean,
well,
I
yeah, and
just
it's
think
like would you
I
call
just
them
think it
isekai,
more
right?
matters of just how how the main character can potentially interact with the world.
yeah,
Like
So
I don't think the logging out really I think what matters, at least for me, more is like what are they doing? Like, are they able to eat, like, and
but it's
or are they able
overlord.
to
It's
eat,
overlord in
sleep, and like
isekai though. The
interact?
overlord, the guy comes into an MMO, right? He gets trapped there. He's pretty much fully in that world, right? But he can still open menus, and he's like immortal and kind of can walk around. And he's kind of like interacting with the MMO as if it's a little bit more of a game, right? Plus diplomacy, talking and all that bullshit, right? But then he's more or less fully trapped in that world, right? So is that an easy?
yeah.
I
What
would
do we
say
call
yes.
what do we call these where we have like a series of check boxes and it's like, if it's greater than or equal to 5 or more, like if we have 5 or
yeah.
more of these, like,
I mean, so like
We can just say there are exceptions, right? Probably
so
to all of
so
them.
my definition of isekai, right, would
Right.
be essentially just, for me, isekai is a tool to set up a world, right? So
Yes, it can be a hook. It's like at the
yeah,
bare minimum, it's a hook. Yes.
so the way I see isekai is decently loose, I think. You
Mhm.
know, the main character is either from our world or from a world, and then gets transported into something substantially different enough to be considered a different world, whether that be an MMO, or the well in Inuyasha, or something like what was it, fucking Devil is a Part Timer, where
So
where
can I ask
the
a thing?
Lord of Darkness gets transported to our world, right?
Right.
Like it is,
That's a reverse isekai though.
yeah,
Don't get into that.
but it's
We
still an
Right.
isekai.
Yeah,
Um,
but not in the. We have to come up with a traditional meaning of the word isekai before we
yeah,
start
but
going into the
but, like,
subgenres.
I think I would agree with Nier in that significant. I would just add another thing where it's just like the the link to the previous world in terms of like obviously you have like memory, you can have memories or whatever, but in terms of like the means of escape to the other world is severely weakened, right? It's very weak. It has to be significantly weak. You can't just be like,
well, I
all
mean,
right, this dinosaur's chasing me into the portal. Like that's not like.
I think that aspect is less of like a an issue that invalidates it of being an isekai, and more of an issue of like
Making
it's
it
just
realistic.
fucking bad story writing,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Yeah, like
okay,
Like
yeah,
if
I
that
can see.
wouldn't
Yeah, no, okay, okay, I
that
get. Okay.
realistically wouldn't happen in
Yeah,
decent
okay,
series.
I agree. I
Like,
agree. Yeah. No, you guys are right. Definitely.
yeah,
because
like
technically in Sword
I'm sort
Art
of like
or in
trying to be like,
like
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
if the
in
main
like
character can just
Gun
be like, I'm in danger, time to leave, you know,
It's still an isekai, but it's a bad isekai.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
just like there's no tension in any aspect of
No, I
anything,
agree.
because then the main character is like untouchable. He can just
Yeah.
leave whenever he feels outmatched.
Shoot
I
out
mean,
the
also
portal.
typically you realistically wouldn't do that even in a series where that's an option, right?
Yeah,
Like a
exactly.
series like that would just be a complete nonsense thing, right? Like if they could leave in Log Horizon, but they don't die anyway because it's just a game. The fuck's gonna leave? Like,
That's part of the whole part of like the beginning of Sword Art Online, right? They always find some stupid premise where they always get stuck. Where it's just like at the beginning, like they cut everybody's like the nerve, whatever, blah blah blah, or hack the virus or whatever, and nobody can get out. And
Well,
then
Sword Art
afterwards,
has
like,
two steps of being fucking stupid because, like,
Yeah.
first they have to cut everyone off, and then they also have to be like, but also you die.
yeah, but also you die. Yeah, that's a big thing.
Like, well,
But
then
I
you're
think
just full on isekai at that point because
the best thing is like
there's
it's
no real world.
it's like fucking I like how after the first arc and then they went into like the second arc or the elf the fairy wing world arc thing, right? The Alfheim or whatever the fuck it is, right?
Yeah.
Um I like how literally after everybody got over the terror of the initial sort of line arc where it
They
was
went into another VR
yeah,
MMO.
exactly. Here's okay, it's like you guys got away from these killer VR machines, now get into another. We promise it won't be good this time. It's like, no, I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Yeah, I mean the people in the fucking Sword Art like
Yeah, I'm
world
not
are
very
pretty
smart.
fucking stupid.
And then they had to like stuff Kirito into a third one by fucking like nabbing him in the middle of the night and killing him with nanomachines or something.
No, that's not true. They didn't nab him in the middle of the night. A guy on like fucking
Yeah,
crack
the thief, yeah.
charged him with a fucking syringe, and like Kirito tried to jab him with an umbrella, and like still didn't win.
It's the syringe with the nanomachines for some reason. It's just
By the
like,
way,
no,
Kirito is supposed to be being like fucking trained to become like a fucking
Kendo master.
god
or
even
whatever.
outside
Yeah,
of the game,
exactly.
and
The
it's
lonely
like he gets
beater.
fucking killed by a crackhead. Like, okay,
Oh my god. Anyways, so I
that'd be
guess
like taking that'd be like taking a that'd be like taking like a fucking Navy SEAL and like an actual like homeless crackhead is charging him from the front with no lethal weapon, and the SEAL still loses.
He already
and then-
fought that one guy at the end of
At the end of the first arc with the
Yeah.
fucking like razor blade.
with the knife, yeah. And he
Yeah.
won. How could he lose to a guy with when he had an actual
Yeah,
weapon this
he
time?
he won with like atrophied muscles and shit.
Yeah. The thief, like also like the thief that came in the night, just has like a syringe of damage. She's like, it's like you're fighting a hobo, and it's just like the hobo just has a flamethrower under his rags. Like, why?
Yeah,
Why is
dude.
this a thing?
Hobo with a shotgun, man.
Yeah.
The hobo pulls out the fucking football. He's like, yeah, well, what are you gonna do now? Because I have the
Yeah.
codes.
Oh my god. Anyways, so I think we've kind of widely gone around and talked more on the literary end for about what isekai is. I would and also like to add like so another way like we could talk about this premise or we could talk about this question rather is what do you think what comes to mind or what set of values come to mind when somebody just says yeah isekai stuff, right? In my mind, obviously there's an isekai literary plot, literary hook, whatever you want to call it, right? But there's also, I think, a sort of, I want to say, a culture community kind of now, right? That's mainly based around like all these light novel, web novel, whatever manga writer in Japan, right? They're all kind of writing sort of the same shit, right? And it's not just, the premise, whatever, but it's very much this weird subculture, I want to say, uh, where when we say, this thing is an isekai or whatever, we're kind of referring to that general brand of MC goes into a world. The world is usually this like high fantasy or magic involved, supernatural, usually pre-industrial feudal era kind of thing, and the MC gets a power, and then the MC goes along, collects all the girls, does whatever, right? Stuff like that. So I think there's also something to be said about it where by this point we can kind of say it's almost a culture, a ish, right? A subculture.
Um,
Like they're all kind of they're
would you
all
say? Would you also say that all of the really bad Amazon book writers that write smut about men having sex with
airplane.
dinosaurs is a like subculture as well?
Like, well,
I would say so.
they call they're actually like a sort of a colloquial word for them, right? Like the airport books or whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
The airport rag.
yeah.
So I think there is some sort of like they're not like networking. It's not like there's a link LinkedIn or some Facebook where they're like, "Yo, man, we're hook me up with the Isekai project." I don't think that's one thing, but I don't think that's the thing. But I do think that they're sort of all either explicitly or vaguely sort of cognizant of what everybody's doing, the general sort of trend and kind of whatever, and they're kind of all building around each other.
Sure.
Does that make sense? And they're all again building the very similar stuff.
Hold on,
So
Spire, 1 second. Before you keep going down here, you have to define what the modern term of isekai is and where it started from. Because if we look back in history, there have been isekai, but it's not been called isekai until this current generation.
I well, there's like a couple of like
Just start with the baseline of when it started. You know what I'm talking about. You
I don't
do
know
it.
what you're talking
Do it.
about.
Do it. What is the
Well, Dante's Inferno.
what is the one
The Epic of
series?
Gilgamesh.
What is the one series that kickstarted isekai for the modern age?
Actually, I have a
Do we all right. You don't know? Do you want me to say it?
yeah, sure, say it.
Go for it.
It's Sao. Really?
Yeah.
You guys
Sao?
didn't know? It's Sword Art Online, yeah.
Well, I thought you were gonna like say something even more different, like Toku and Chad, Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and
I
the
wouldn't
Wardrobe.
say
But
I wouldn't say that
No.
coined isekai. I would say that if you look
No,
back,
I mean
that
it
was
didn't
sort of
coin isekai, but it did start like
well,
the
if you look back, it
If you want to look back at older anime, let's say one of the
think the
first
important thing.
isekai that I know of is probably that I knew of way in the beginning. You know, the parallel world. I don't know. No,
So I
not regular Lotus War. What's the one? What's the one where the chick falls into a hole or something, and then she gets
um
rescued by a dude and they have robots. It
the
was super
long with the
cool.
long noses.
No, but they had
No?
sweet robots.
Uh,
It was really popular in the 90s. It's not Ray Earth. Ray Earth is another one. That's an isekai. You know, the one where the three chicks go into the new world. Yeah. What is it called? It's on the
I know
tip
you're
of my
talking
tongue.
about. It starts with an F, I think.
Why can't I remember?
But yeah, I know what you're talking about, where they're like traveling through like time and different worlds and stuff with mechs and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I will say about Sword Art Online is
Vision
that
of Escaflowne. Yes.
Escaflowne. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
That Escaflowne is an isekai. Fushigi Yugi, isekai.
So what I will say is that I think we have a couple of confounding variables. So it's just like I think a lot of things kind of became a perfect storm for Sword Art Online. I mean, I obviously don't need to say that. It's pretty much there, but I think I would have to phrase it a little bit differently. So it's like looking back, Sword Art Online is both popular, like obviously popular, and it in the recent decades, right? In the recent decades, right? It was one of the major series that really emphasized sort of you were in one world, but now you're in another, and you cannot get out. Um, and now you have to deal with this world. Kind of that as sort of the hook, right? And so it wasn't necessarily a very it wasn't just an MMO. It was an MMO where it was just like almost survival game esque, right? But it didn't have as much tension as a survival game. It was just like, yeah, you're kind of fucking stuck here, right?
Yeah.
Dot hack, yeah. So dot hack, I think.
I mean, dot hack just didn't kick off. Like
Yeah.
you
Dot-
can you
Dot
can
hack
really,
was.
if you really want to, you can literally say SAO like ripped off dot hack. Like, you know, the similarities are all there, but like dot hack just wasn't popular even when it was coming out. Like
Dot-
a lot of people play dot hack. A lot of people own dot hack.
Dot
because it was
Hack was
pretty.
mostly a series of video games, not an anime.
Yeah, people just played the games. Obviously, Dot Hack was a multimedia project, but like nothing in that project was as popular as the game, and even then, the games weren't like household names.
So I think the easiest well, if we shouldn't argue about popularity. I guess
We
Alright,
should
how do you-
because
Well,
I'm gonna keep saying Sao kickstarted the isekai genre
Well, it's
for the
important.
modern age.
I mean, it's important to
It's
talk
important
about
because there's
popularity when you're going to talk about when people started calling things isekai, right?
Yeah.
Like the problem is like you can look back and like we've even done already. You can find a shitload of stuff that made like is an isekai, but it wasn't called that because it's like you didn't have nearly the prevalence of what you had now
Okay.
or the popularity.
Yeah, I think okay. Yeah, Dark hit upon the keyword. So the prevalence, I think, is what I'm looking for. So I want to be very careful. It's like because we're making it sound like, oh yeah, fucking making just sort of online, like fucking yeah, boom, like
I'm
it's
saying it.
Godfather.
Yeah.
What I'm
You can
saying
quote
is
me on it.
what I think. It's not responsible. It was at front of these guys. So do you guys get the difference, like what I'm trying to get at here? So it's like timeline wise, I think Sword Art Online was both popular and it had some elements that obviously is a defining characteristic of what we know as isekai now, right? And then like literally one, not even one, like pretty much like in the same years, 2 years, 3 years after, right? A lot of light novels, a lot of web novels started coming out that were very similar to Sword Art Online, right? But I don't think necessarily that Sword Art Online was the thing that they were just like, oh, we obviously Sword Art Online, right? It wasn't like that, but it was like at that period of time, right? Everything kind of came out at the same time, but Sword Art Online was the big name, so it kind of acted as the forefront. Does that make sense? I don't think Sword Art Online was necessarily responsible for that shit. Maybe like like 5 years after or whatever, right? 4 or 5 years after or something like that. Then obviously there are effects 3, 4, 5, whatever. But
I don't know.
I think at that point, like when it all came out, like everything was kind of the same cluster. Everybody was just kind of like, because some perfect storm happened, right? But I don't
I
think
personally, I don't think it's hard to say that SAO, like when that anime came out, like
right.
that 2-3 year period, like SAO was like the catalyst for a lot of like light novels to like come out. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but the issue is, it's like the issue with that, the problem I have with that structure is that Sword Art Online has a pretty specific structure to its appeal, right? Which is strongly the MMO aspect and strongly the you like you were playing this MMO, but now you're kind of in it, right? Which some like light novels did take, but why did everybody kind of just turn into this sort of like reincarnation festa? Why did everybody kind of turn into this sort of like weird like mutant variants
Well,
instead of just following Sword Art Online but writing a different world or writing a different sort of set of values or premises?
I mean, it depends on whether or not you want
Do,
to
do,
do an MMO, right?
do you want
There are certain
right.
aspects that go with that.
right.
Like people might have wanted to do a fantasy series. Sword Art came out, and then they're like, well, you can take little bits of like the way the
See,
world works in that, in a
the thing
sense,
is,
like the knowledge of the MC and whatnot.
yeah, because it's like again, the problem is like we now have a bunch of the same thing flooding the market,
Dep-
but we don't.
yeah.
That's the problem. Sword Art Online is
Well, it
not the same
also
as what we have in terms of the isekais now.
well, it depends on how you want to look at how they influenced it. I mean, we can really never know for sure. Like, like let's say a pure high fantasy isekai.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, the writer didn't really think of doing, an isekai series, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like Sword Art comes out and they're like, well, if I do this, then the story element of them being in an alternate reality, like they can use their past knowledge. I can use shit like that to talk about, more contemporary stuff or do direct comparisons, etc.
Right.
So it
Well,
kind of depends on how much credit you want to give Sword Art kicking off, other than like 1-to-1, right? Because it's like we really can't know, but I think we can infer that even like Isekai series that aren't in MMOs, a lot of people were definitely influenced by that.
Yeah, well, I'm
Here's a
agreeing
radical
that
idea that I have.
there was an influence. I agree, but I'm talking about like I agree that like 3, 4, 5 years after or whatever, right? There was obviously an influence. It's like it would be ridiculous to suggest that there was an influence, but I think in that year, right, or in the year or the year after, or maybe up to 3 years, right? I just don't think that in those times, like especially since you look back at earlier stuff like Mushoku Tensei or whatever, right? Um, a lot of those things are decently different from what we have in terms of what we would think just copy style, right? Is so I think later on, yeah, sure. Like fucking all these motherfuckers are just writing, get popped into an MMO, open up your game menu, whatever, right? A lot of these idiots have. But I think in the early stages, SAO was a forerunner, and then later on, obviously it became sort of like the granddaddy thing, right? But I think it'll be a little bit weird for me personally to be like, oh yeah, like the moment it's like that fucking like Avatar meme, right? It's like everything everything was fine until like the peaceful until like the Fire Nation attacked. I think it'll be a mistake to be like Sword Art Online came in, boom, it was there. Like Isekai was born. It just like timeline wise, it doesn't make sense to me. I know
I
that this is
mean,
a little bit splitting hairs, but I don't know.
I
It's just a
mean,
little bit uncomfortable.
I know you're wrong, Spire, but you're forgetting the one. You're forgetting the one main important thing about what Sao did that kickstarted all the other isekais.
See, all right, yeah,
What?
what is it?
What's that?
It's escapism. The whole point of Sao is escapism of your boring,
But
average,
escapism as a general
modern day.
culture was
Let me
existed.
finish. Let me finish. The whole point of Sao is escapism of the lonely modern day salaryman black company working dude. And then after Sao, they're like, all right,
Kirito's a high school student.
Well,
you
the
can
lonely high school
Yeah,
student.
in
but like
MMO.
he's me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
he's still me.
He's a black haired jack of all trades, handsome dude who gets all the chicks. Wow, that's so me. But the whole point is, and this might be a little controversial, but I'll say it. Japan is not in a good mental was not in a good mental state when Sao came out.
Are you talking about like some sort of
Low
like?
birth rate, declining birth rates, overworking culture.
I mean, it's not bad now.
They're all like
It hasn't changed.
Yeah, I was gonna
Sao
say it's still in a pretty bad state if we're gonna consider it's still not great, dude.
in Sao I could be whoever I want to be. So then they're like, I want to be in Sao so much. Let me leave this cruel world. Goodbye. This planet doesn't need me anymore. And
For a second,
and that's where the truck comes in.
yeah. For a second, when Toast was like, Japan doesn't have like good, wasn't in a good mental state. I thought he was gonna like go into some like socioeconomic analysis, like like some shit like that, like things before Star Wars came out in America was like it was all depressing stagflation, and there was a lot of like stuff like Dirty Harry and stuff like that. I thought he was gonna go into that sort of analysis. It was like which like yeah, I guess, but it's not like the problems change now.
There's
I mean,
I guess we have still Isekai now, right? We still do.
I think it's an interesting take, right? Because
Yeah.
so Kenton in chat said the MMO aspect of SAO is very minuscule in the grand scheme. At least that's how it seemed when I watched it, right?
Yeah.
So my question is, in the context of Toast's argument of just pure escapism, right?
Huh?
Do you think the majority of the viewers that were watching SAO actually cared about the MMO aspect?
I know I did when I watched it. I thought this was super
Yeah,
cool.
but that's because you're an
I
MMO
think
player.
Well, when we talk about the MMO aspect, I think what you and Kenton are describing is literally just like, like, oh, we're gonna craft things today, or we're gonna blah blah. I guess when I'm
I
talking
mean, what
about,
I'm saying is, how many people that were watching SEO give a shit that it was in an MMO?
but it was still.
That was
I
the
mean,
whole
the thing
point,
was,
though.
they weren't like,
Yeah,
oh,
but
there's the
but how
menu or
many people
whatever.
really cared?
I don't think
There's
many.
there's a difference between like I want this MMO, setting right now, and them kind of accepting it as being natural, right? It's like because SAO still had like the whole, you have to do the fucking like grinding and level ups, and you have to open the menu all the time and all this bullshit. But it was like,
Yeah, I mean that's the crux of the world. That's the crux of like the conflict, right? Is they have to
yeah,
beat the
yeah,
levels, they have to beat the bosses to get out of the
yeah,
MMO.
and that makes
But
it the
like,
MMO, right?
yeah,
Like,
but as the viewer, like, do you really care that they are in an MMO, or do you
oh, I
care
don't
that
think, I
they
don't
are
think,
in this world and
yeah,
there is a conflict going on, and they have to
yeah,
beat
but
monsters to get out?
I don't think they were like, oh, fucking, like, no MMO, no buy kind of thing, right? But I think it was a very natural acceptance of what sort of, I guess, prehistoric, I want to say isekai or some shit like that, right? Well, the vision that Sword Art Online drew out, right, was the one where there's this world, but then we got chucked into it because of the MMO, and then we have to sort of, we have the menus and shit like that, right? The menus make it things easier, so it's like a natural part of it. It's like how with Tolkien, right? Like, why the fuck do elves have sharp or pointy ears and stuff like that, right? Like a lot of the Tolkien stuff that he did was just, obviously there was like one or two authors before him that also helped popularize high fantasy, but in terms of like what Tolkien did, why the do all the elves and stuff like that have all these details that look the same? It's because everybody kind of saw it was inspired by it, and they kind of accepted that it was natural more than like, oh, fucking elves don't have pointy ears, no buy for, or don't have pointy ears, fuck that shit. um so that's sort of the place I'm coming from. I don't think people necessarily have to be like, oh man, like this shit has MMO elements. Yeah. I think there's something to be said about sort of a natural acceptance.
Well,
Well, I
I
mean,
think this is part of a bigger.
kind of what I'm saying is just like the MMO aspect of SAO
Mhm.
is sort of just, it's essentially just a method of getting the characters like, and I guess the viewer to like accept the situation they're in, right?
Right.
So like, does the fact that SAO is in an MMO really separate it, like in terms of like an inspiration as a escapism uh method, than just being transported to another world, is what I'm wondering. Like, does the MMO aspect really differentiate SAO from any of the other series that were coming out, that were isekai around that time?
I don't really. I don't really think so, but I think that's also another like aspect of just any Japanese series that features a quote unquote MMO to begin with, because
Yeah,
they're all
I
like
think
these
so.
fake fucking games that
I
make no sense and
I
like
agree.
would never exist.
So I agree that they're all in this sort of similar cluster. It's not like Sword Art Online is not an isekai. It's clearly a fucking isekai, right? Because it's like they can't get out and they're like stuck in it, right?
Yeah.
But
Is
the
Samurai
very
Jack an isekai?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
the very fine point, and I know people will be like thinking I'm retarded in chat, but the sort of fine point I wanted to make is that I think until much later, like 3, 4, 5 years later, I don't think we really had Sword Art Online be an impact, and it was much more of just like it was more of like the fact that Sword Art Online was already taking its steps. It was already an isekai before all the other stories kind of really became popular and whatever, right?
Right, sure, but
Yeah. So it was less
so
a "Ooh, all right, we have isekai now, and more of an, oh, what the heck, like he already made isekai, kind of stuff like that.
so essentially what I assume you're saying is SAO didn't necessarily like inspire isekai to be a
At
popular
least not until
genre.
later. At least not
But
until later. Yeah.
right, but in
It
the
was
current
saying holding it.
time
Yeah.
that all of those series were coming out,
Yeah.
SAO was the one that had the
Sprinting
spotlight
ahead.
shown
Yeah,
on
sprinting
it,
ahead.
and
Yeah, exactly.
people
Exactly.
were like, "Oh,
It was
this is
very
a
much a
thing."
perfect storm. But I kind of feel uncomfortable being on. Of course, Sword Art Online was the birth of modern isekai. Like that sentence alone makes me very, very
I
uncomfortable.
mean, I wouldn't say it was the birth, but I can say it was definitely the one.
Forerunner.
It was the series that put the spotlight on
On the map.
what
Yeah.
is
I can. Yeah.
like the current, like, I guess, way to use isekai.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, I definitely agree. So again, sorry for sorry for putting such a fine point on it, but I just again I do think that there's a little bit of subtlety to be explored there, because then it starts sort of devolving into kind of sort of online as the big bang of of this sort of universe that we're talking about, right?
Right.
And I would like to avoid that slightly, but yeah. So going off on what actually Toast started to talk about, what why Japan really devolved, went into it, and really, explored isekai and became boom, right? So I guess because I don't want to take 5 hours, I want to kind of bundle this point together. But why are people attracted to isekai, and why are people attracted to isekai now? And within this, if we can sort of have a discussion about the general sort of pros and cons of isekai as a literary genre or tool within this market, right? Um, so Toast talked a little bit about the escapism or whatever, right? You want a real answer, Chuck? I mean, we can get real answers, but real answers can still be funny, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes life is funnier than fiction. So Toast mentioned escapism. Japan not being in a great state in terms of socioeconomics, maybe. So what do you guys think about that, Dark Rainier?
I mean, at least at the start, yeah. Like, but that's not really much different from any series with like an insert character. Like Kirito is the most bland fucking
Power
insert
fantasy.
character you could possibly like have. So it's like I think you have that. You have the MMO aspect that's like, kind of like the relatable thing, like a video game sort of idea. But I don't think that necessarily like I don't know. Whatever, man.
Yeah.
Speak.
Yeah.
I
I
can't
mean,
finish that fucking thought at all.
it's
Right.
really hard to point like at one thing, right? Because like you said, there were a lot of series like SAO coming out around that time.
Mhm.
And for some reason it got popular. You could say it's escapism, but realistically, a lot of anime is escapism, right? Pretty much
Yeah,
all
for sure.
media is escapism. You could say it's a power fantasy, but there were a lot of power fantasy series before without isekai. Self-insert characters have been a thing for a very long time.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not really sure why it got popular on the viewer side. I feel like it's kind of just something that people.
I have another theory.
I think it was just something that was like easy to watch for people at the time, right?
Yeah.
In
Can I, can
my
I just can I
eyes,
just interrupt you real quick?
sure.
So real answer isekai hits on all the points that people like shonen for, and a lot. I just want to kind of add on that for another sort of thing to throw in the puddle or in the pot, I guess. Is I would actually go further, and in a much more reductive sense, you can maybe think about it in another way where it's like isekai both hits on shonen stuff and the harem stuff. I mean, a lot of these often
Well,
have
yeah.
a lot of these tags, right? So you can do the action and you can do the harem and you can kind of
I mean,
go everywhere.
isekai is a very versatile subgenre, right? You
Yes.
can inject as many genres into it as you want,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But in terms of the shonen aspect, I think it's able to do a lot of the stuff people like in shonen without having to do, I guess, a lot of the stuff shonen does, right? Like they can skip over
A lot
like
of the bad
training
stuff.
arcs and
You mean?
stuff,
Yeah,
right?
training arcs.
You know,
Right.
uh, you know, like the character doesn't really need that much, motivation in terms of like
Do you
why
think
they're
power
doing
creep?
stuff, because it's just like I'm epic, right?
Do you think power creep is much less like looked down on in isekai, and why? If so,
Um,
why?
well, I think it breeds into what I was going to say. So, I'm not 100% sure why Isekai got popular on the viewer side, but on the writer side, right? Um, it's easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, Isekai is very, 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 very popular in
Yeah.
terms of light novels, because really you don't need to set much up, right? Um, all you need is an idea for a world, a few characters, a harem, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some bullshit, stupid power, and then a bland self-insert MC who dies or gets plugged into the fucking matrix or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? Realistically, all you need is the most bare bones aspects of writing a story, um, and then you're instantly injected into the world, and the world can really have any rules you want. Um, it's easy to write,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of that, uh, obviously, that helped flood the market,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously, a flooded market is going to have people just consuming the media, right?
Right, right, right.
Which like it's I guess like a I don't know what I'd call it, like a self-fulfilling prophecy or whatever, where you have all these authors that are just spewing shit out.
Mm-hmm.
The readers at some point kind of have no choice to read it, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I mean that's kind of how I see it. Obviously, there's good series out there, and the good series obviously shine head and shoulders above the bad ones. But like, there's so much out there that I feel like the genre, subgenre, whatever of isekai, like it's realistically unavoidable at this
Yeah.
point. And I
I
think
think
that's largely due to the fact that it's so easy to write.
yeah.
There's so much of it out there.
It's very modular if you think about it, right? What I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
yeah,
Like it
like you
just
you have this base of like you can
yeah,
have like let's say base of harem, and then you can stick on like action stuff, or like
yeah,
you
you
can
can
stick on
stick on, action or politics or,
yeah, exactly. Slow life.
yeah, like slice of life
Yeah,
or, farming or, like you
so
can do
modular.
anything
Oh
with
my
it, right?
god.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
Isekai is just such a flexible start to a story that
Well, I mean,
like
not only that, you also don't need to really establish the world.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
like
You
Because
can
you
do
can
like you can do it
realistically
as
it's
you
pseudo
go.
world
yeah,
building
you can go
on
do
the
it as you go. A lot of people,
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of isekai writers, like they don't even think about what world they're putting it, like being put into, right? They
Feudal,
just
I
go,
guess.
here's this feudal fantasy setting. Is there magic? I don't know. Maybe I'll make some later,
Elves?
right? Like
Okay, yeah, sure.
yeah, like they can just do whatever they want, right? So I think
Yeah.
that in my eyes is probably the biggest factor of why isekai got popular,
Yeah.
is because like writers saw this method of introducing a world and they're like, I can do that. I can do that with
Mhm.
my eyes closed, right?
Right,
Like,
right, right.
it's really not hard for a writer to just think up of some random ass world,
Right, right.
and with no needs to like really build upon it. Like you can start writing a story instantly. Um, but yeah, that's
Yeah, I think obviously I agree with pretty much most, if not all, of the points that you guys have listed so far. And it's like I think in general, obviously there's a modular aspect to it that kind of brings together a lot of the people, right? Like how do I say this? It's like it'll again, it has sort of like the harem rom-com base, and then it'll like chuck in some action or like super cool powers, and then bring in some of the fan viewers of that base, or like sometimes it'll have like the slower life slice of life kind of stuff, and it'll bring in some people, and it kind of just kept collecting into like a thing, right? And the issue, not issue, I want to say, but I guess a benefit of this is also that simply I I also want to say isekai, the modern isekai, was born in the era of not the manga, but the light novels and the web novel, right? Would
yeah,
I be okay in saying that, right? Especially, when we
You,
talk about starting from, series like Sword Art Online, right? So
you're
it's the
you're
era
for,
of
you're
light novel.
forgetting one thing, Spire.
Yeah.
What is the fastest growing medium that has been that since I don't know 2000s I guess 2000 2010
What is it?
video games. Most of the
So
people who are watching anime nowadays, what was their first console?
Well, I mean, that's largely just due. I mean, that's kind of just a byproduct of like uh inserting like the MMO aspect into Isekai, right? I feel
Yeah.
like
mm,
even without video game,
What?
like the Isekai tool is just as flexible, you know?
That's true, but why? What's with the influx of video isekais with video game aspects to it? It's because
Well,
the
Because
modern.
honestly, it's even
writers are
more
playing
flexible.
video games.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, it's like even easier to do because then it's like not only do you not really need to build up much of a world, you already have video games as a thing, so
I
you
think video
kind of
games also
know
kind
how
of.
the world works already.
Yeah.
I think also the video games kind of is much more of a mainstream platform than what we know of with light novels and web novels, right? Um, and but at the same time, so it's like what I was saying is like with games and web novels and light novels stuff like that. I think when we start off with like light novels and web novels, right? What's the biggest change from like having some sort of like anime or manga? It's the it's the general sort of production, right? Like,
Yeah, you don't need to
like these
draw.
motherfuckers can just shit out chapters on Shosetsu, or whatever, right? Or on online sites, the Japanese equivalent of fanfiction.net, doing whatever, right? And just shit out chapters and chapters, throw them at the editor, boom. Uh, like sure, illustrations are good and illustrations sell a lot, right? But they don't need to like the author doesn't the guy doesn't need to be like a full time like mangaka
Yeah, he
to like
doesn't need
really
to be
sell out.
storyboarding shit. He doesn't need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be,
exactly.
you know, writing out, drawing out panels or,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
thinking about how a
Contracting
scene
like better
flows.
illustrator. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, he just needs to fucking write.
Yeah, Isekai is everyone's fanfic of their favorite video game. That's pretty close. But where I'm going with this is that as a natural consequence of this, there was an explosion in light novels and web novels. I don't think we can deny that, right? In the last sort of decade and a half, whatever, right?
Yeah.
There was an absolute explosion of light novels and web novels. Um, and because there's so much supply and everybody's kind of trying out a slightly different variant or whatever, like there's something for everybody on the scale, right? Like literally, if you want like, oh, I want kind of harem with like 2.5 girls, and then maybe like the main character kind of jumps into a volcano at some point, and then he's like a dragon, and then
Hey,
maybe
that one's
maybe
good. Leave it alone.
and
Lord
then maybe
Greed
if
is
you want
cool.
like and then maybe it becomes like a cooking slow paced slice of life past chapter. Like there's a variant of that, right? There's so many different things. It has to hit somebody's taste like every time, right? Almost every time, right? So I think that was a big part of why the isekai boom happened, because there was so much supply. Eventually, when the demand came, right, as the demand increased, like there was no part of the demand that was just like, oh, well, this doesn't suit me, because there's always a fucking light novel or web novel that suits you, right? There's always something on the scale that suits you. So, um, Railgun was, I believe it was it. Was it a light novel origin? Oh, was it an anime original actually?
Wait, what? Railgun?
Yeah.
No, manga.
It
They're
was a
all
manga.
yeah.
Okay. So it was a manga
When
original.
Index was a light novel, then
Yeah,
Railgun
yeah,
got a
yeah, yeah,
manga.
yeah,
So on and so
2.5
forth.
girls. But yeah, I think that was a big thing where it's like nobody had real, like once they got in, like generally, right? There was no real reason for them to turn away, because there's always some variant that'll fucking fit their taste, because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big thing on why. So,
Do you
you
think the
know,
people that like Minecraft like that one really bad Minecraft isekai? Where the dude was all
There's
like,
a Minecraft isekai.
yeah, the dude was all
There's
like,
an
whoa.
isekai for literally everything.
yeah, exactly. That's what we were just
There's
The,
an
saying.
the,
isekai for being a fucking piece of dog shit on the sidewalk. Like,
There's literally a Pokeball Isekai, dude. Like everybody, the MC captures everybody in a Pokeball.
The one, the one I'm talking about is where the dude was like, "Whoa, I'm playing this crafting game. Whoa, if I imagine myself using WASD, I can move faster. If I press space, I can jump." And I'm like, I don't like
Yeah,
this at
it's
all.
just like
that sounds fucking
it's
I
just
know,
awful.
like
It's
real
awful.
life, man.
I know one thing where he was just like grinding his ass off, and well, I mean, I guess that's a lot of his.
Is that
But anyway,
is that the 100,000 years one or the Sage one for like 1,000 years?
it was the one where he like, what is it? He like would do like the everything like a billion times, or it's just like just to level up. Like he would eat like a bunch of sour apples, or he would, what is he? He would like bang his head. He would like bang his head on the like wall of a dungeon or something, or he would take the torch in like a dungeon like a billion times just to level up. It
Is
was
that
that
the
shit.
one with the what is it? What is the restart in or something? Where
Yeah,
the
I
dude
think
makes a save
like
point?
yeah, and he has to like prevent some sort of like wedding or some shit like that.
I
But
mean, that's technically a pretty common thing at this point. Like even
yeah,
Boford had that, just like the grinding of skills.
But
yeah.
that's the best part.
But I
Pretty
do,
shit,
I will
yeah.
say, I do still have a
Yeah,
problem.
it's the
Oh
one with
yeah,
the
yeah, 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 yeah. I know that one is, but I don't know the name. It
yeah,
sucks.
but
Don't
anyway.
read it.
But anyways, just as like a quick sort of sub branch of that. So what do you guys kind of, if you guys had to, I don't know, list off, let's say you guys were at an anime convention and you guys were heading up Canada, right? And
Oh
somebody
boy.
asked you like what are the pros and
Wow,
cons of
my
Soon.
Isekai, right?
fucking dream.
Yeah,
Hold
my
on, let me get my checklist.
so somebody was just like, what do you think are the good and bad points of Isekai? Like if there's this like retard in the audience and you just asked that, right? So how would you answer that without, taking up an hour, right? So
Well,
again, starting with Dark.
well, the good and bad aspects. I mean, it depends on how it's used, right? Because I think the good aspect of it being like, almost like a crutch in a way.
Mm-hmm.
No, not even a crutch. I think there's a good aspect to not having to completely divulge like most of the information of the world right away to the main character.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
not having the main character know much about the world. Like obviously like a shit writer can use that to like shoehorn in stuff later on. But I think a good example of it being done pretty well recently is Bookworm. Bookworm like very subtly hints at like magics in the beginning and like these high fantasy things going on.
Right.
Like
Right. Right.
I know they don't even mention it like really ever again, but in the beginning there's like yeah, like every winter we pick a fruit from this tree, and then like the main character like I forget what she asks. She like one of them says like, "Oh yeah, like I have these special gloves because I'll slip off like if not." And basically it's just dialogue that hinting at like this is just a tree made out of like ice that grows magic fruit. And then you see like a quick shot of it later on in the show, like of them like on the frozen branch essentially. So I think like stuff like that's cool. Like more recently they're introducing more and more fantasy stuff, and like the main character is kind of commenting like, how did I not know about all of these high.
Yeah. I just Oops.
Oh, uh, one sec.
Yeah. What about? So I guess Toast. What about you? If
You really want me to bring up the checklist before asking Nier?
I mean, hey, wait, hold on.
yeah, you
I was
got
gonna
that.
say,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
because
Okay.
my
All right.
microphone just
Yeah.
fucked up. I was gonna say like obviously the inverse of that can go wrong. I think another problem, another con Isekai at this point been like that same sort of world building, like not needing to have everything established there, and the combination of like further using MMOs as a crutch, right? Because we have
Mm-hmm.
so many like really bad MMO isekais at this point, and we have so many just MMO shows at this point that took from that and are just equally as bad.
Yeah.
Where I don't know who made the game first, the fake game first, but these games don't fucking exist, and like it just turns into a complete mess of like, not only is this not a real like a decent world for this
Kind of
isekai, but
evolves
it's also
into
not even a
Dragon
decent
Quest.
game.
kind of devolves
it's
into what people think that Dragon Quest is like.
I mean, it's not even like PSO2. Like Session said in chat, it's just like this weird these like weird high fantasy games that like don't fucking exist.
Yeah.
Where like you can
The issue
grind the
the issue is
skills forever and shit. It's
the
like,
issue is it's like they want to model it a little bit after the games that they know and love, but then halfway, like not even halfway, like a couple chapters in, they're like, yeah, but I want the male character to meet up with an elf slave too. And
yeah,
then
it's
goes
like,
almost out from
what
there.
fuck are you talking about? It's like, yeah, this is like a strict MMO, but like I want him to own slaves as well. So it's like, okay, that would be a hell of a game.
Can
I
you
don't think
imagine
there's
how
I don't think
fast
there's
that'll
many
get canceled at
games
the
on the
West?
market right now.
Holy
But yeah, my new World of Warcraft expansion, where I get to own slaves. Can't
Guys,
wait
you want
for
to see my
that
new
one.
slave?
Yeah, you guys want to see my new slave? Like,
Jesus Christ.
we're not even gonna
So
call
bad.
them like retainers or anything anymore. It's
Right.
just slaves.
I mean, on Mabinogi, I paid $20 to get a maid. She's cool, but she's not
Yeah,
a
that's
slave.
a maid though. We haven't gone full like, yeah, this is a fucking slave in rags and chains you're buying. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Remember this.
I
Remember
think,
the secret, Dark. You have to buy the ones that are like half dead with missing an arm on the verge of death. That's where you get the cheap
yeah,
deals.
so you can,
That's how
well, because then you get the people who have like the like nurturing aspect or whatever that they want to see in a show,
yeah.
whatnot.
You saved this
But
girl.
yeah, I think that's obviously a pretty bad part of it. I mean, then you also have like the pure insert MCs that are just like worthless. Uh, but I think as far as good goes, it's like, yeah, you don't really need to. You can hint at the world slowly. I think having characters have knowledge of things and implement like small bits of knowledge is fine and can be pretty good, especially if it's like leads into a bigger story plot.
Mhm.
Though, I mean, technically, the ones again, the strongest one I can think of right now is book one, where it's like she's not really using the most advanced knowledge ever to get ahead and become a god immediately, right? And I think like
Right.
that's kind of the way to look at it, is just use these aspects of it tempered
Mhm.
in a way and more subtle than anything else. And I think having those character interactions are pretty decent. I haven't really seen, like, even Bookworm kind of dropped it, which I was a little upset about. But like the at least for Bookworm with the reincarnation and the merging of personalities, it drops that. But I think that would be a really interesting one to explore. Of like, this life isn't mine.
Yeah, there was a couple of things. There was a couple of um series, like for instance, the earliest one that comes to mind is like Otherworld Pharmacy or something like that. But there,
Isekai Yakyoku. I like that
yes,
one.
yeah, there are a couple of ones that come to mind, but it's like definitely that sort of like struggle. It's like, oh, you're just essentially like almost ragdolling this body along, pretty much. That'll be an
Yeah,
interesting thing to see.
and it turns into a thing where it's like I would like to see more introspection of like, this body isn't mine, but I have my memories. But now it's like I'm also coping with the fact that I have this flood of essentially another life that wasn't mine either.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's like if you're remembering it as if you experienced it, like, who's who and whatnot. But there's
Right.
really not. Bookworm tackled that for a little bit, but kind of dropped it because
Right.
that is something that I guess the series kind of needs to fully focus on, like fully
Mm-hmm.
dedicate itself to.
Okay. Uh, what about you in here? Like, if we, I guess we'll go on to Toast last, Rish.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like for me, it's basically just what I was saying earlier. Like the pros and cons of Isekai is just its flexibility, right?
Yeah, modular. Yeah.
A writer can kind of just do realistically anything, right?
It's the
Um,
connects. It's like the Lego or connects of like you
yeah,
just
you just kind of like create aspects of a story, and then you fit them into this container,
Yeah,
this
exactly.
shell that is isekai.
Yeah.
And then you just write.
Right, exactly.
Obviously, that's a very good tool to have as a writer, but it's a very not good tool to have as a bad writer, right?
Oh yeah, for
Because
sure.
then you don't have to think about what exactly you're putting on your paper.
Yeah,
You don't have to think about
becomes very
what
lazy.
exactly the motivations are for your characters. They're
Mhm.
kind of just here doing things.
Right.
You don't have to think about um, what exactly the limitations are on this world that they're in.
Mhm.
They just do stuff.
Right.
And it's not really like the it's not really great for like critical thinking about how you want your story to like
Right.
uh
Right.
continue on, right?
Or
Like
be unique or
yeah,
uniquely appealing.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, me personally, I see isekai and it'll use like I go like yuck, right?
Uh-huh.
But I don't really think it's an inherently bad thing. I don't think
Yeah.
it's necessarily inherently good either. At the end of the day, it's a shell for writing
I
your
think I
story.
think I think I think the yuck part of it might go back to what I was trying to describe in the first sort of question that I posed, which was just like isekai as a literary plot slash like hook
Yeah,
versus isekai as the sort of subculture slash community, right?
yeah,
Where it's like isekai could be a lot of things, but the general sort of Japanese isekai culture community are kind of stuck in the dregs doing this shit, right?
yeah,
So that's the sort of disgust I think you're experiencing.
yeah. And I mean, you know, obviously there's a lot of bad isekai out there.
Yeah,
So
it's like the people writing airport rags could be writing Hemingway, but instead they're writing about women getting fucked by bears or something sort of smart like that, right? Or whatever
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just like all right. Um, so what about you, Toast?
What's the
So
question?
So if somebody at like an anime convention, right, or yeah, I
Anime.
guess
Sure.
just at an anime convention was just like, oh, what's good or bad about an isekai? And obviously you don't have like 5 billion hours to answer that question. How'd you answer it?
What's good about Isekai? Knights and Magic. That's a good one.
No. What are the good?
What the bad? What bad Isekai? Oh, there's a
No.
bunch that
I'm
I
not talking
can
about
name
specific
about.
series. I'm not talking about series. I'm talking about like aspects, like traits, sort of general like concepts about isekai that's good, things about isekai like concepts about isekai that's bad.
What is Isekai but a modernist term of something that has already existed?
Well, do you want to list the good and bad points of it, anyways?
Escapism. Yeah, there you go. You like being you like death marching? Well, there's an isekai
Which
about
I don't
death
think.
marching just for you. It's called
I
Death
don't think
March.
it's not even what the anime or the web novel is.
Death
That's
March
pretty
to the
great.
Parallel World Rhapsody. Yeah, it's in there. You
It's I
you
believe that's only the title.
you like you like working at a black company? There's a bunch of black company isekais you can look at.
Yeah.
That was said earlier, isekais are very modular and as a form of escapism, a modern day escapism, they're tailor suited to every person's unique needs. Well, not unique, generalist needs. You got a problem? Here's an isekai that'll make you feel better about it. You hate working all the time? Here's some isekai slow life where nothing happens for 156 chapters. Good for you.
Right.
The bad part about isekai, everything. Isekai
Okay.
itself is a bad genre. You
So,
know what was a cool show?
but
But that's not an isekai, but it is now forever part of Isekai due to retroactive changes.
What? What is it?
What, you didn't hear it?
No.
No.
What did you say?
Look in your heart. You know it to be true. Look at the Isekai within your heart.
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
no idea.
What?
I got nothing, dude.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Was Vandred an Isekai? No, it wasn't.
No, it was not.
Cowboy Bebop. If you
Oh,
think
wait,
about
no.
if you think about it through Faye Valentine's POV, yes, it is.
Not quite.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Is Futurama an Isekai?
Yes.
It
And
is.
so is Cowboy Bebop.
No.
Well, you don't remember that whole episode devoted to Faye Valentine's backstory?
Okay.
You don't remember what happened to her?
Not really. She did get transported to a fucking fantasy land.
No, she got stuck in a tube and went to the far future, and now technically she's the Isekai protagonist.
Well, future isn't necessarily.
And how come Futurama is an Isekai?
Shut up, dude.
Futurama is. Well,
See,
I think
you
it's
know
movie.
Cowboy Bebop is an Isekai now. But yeah, what was I talking about?
I think Cowboy Bebop is still within the realms of like.
Cowboy Bebop
Hey.
is the best anime ever made? Wrong. It's an Isekai now. Wait, what am I talking about? I forgot.
I
You're
don't even
finishing
know,
up
The
dude.
good and
You're-
bad aspects.
That was the
of
bad.
Isekai.
Everything is now retroactively an Isekai. Ray Earth, Isekai. Fushigi Yugi, Isekai. Reverse Isekai. You got Deers, Chobits, reverse Isekai.
All right. Well, let me.
UFO Ultra Maiden Valkyrie, reverse Isekai.
Sekirei Isekai. But let me just add on a little bit, which is, again, I agree with a lot of points that people have just listed just now, but I'd also kind of be like, the good points of Isekai are, again, I think the modular nature of it really just allows for, or the modular nature of it, and again the flexibility that near names. Well, I'd like to go further on what I mean here by flexibility, which is what the MC can do and what the world can do, right? Because it's like, because it's another world, right? Because it's not Japan or historical Japan.
Because
or
it's not Japan,
50 years, yeah.
I can own all the
Because-
slaves that I want. Jesus Christ.
True.
Jesus Christ.
But because it's not like medieval Europe historical fiction where you have to kind of follow all the trivia, blah blah. It's very flexible in the sense that the world can be almost anything, obviously because it's another world, and the MC can do anything in that world, right? Within obviously organic reason, right? It has to be realistic in that world, hopefully.
Not really.
Uh,
What about the ones that have the word cheat in it?
Well,
Those are isekai.
The god gave him.
Are you
the
talking
sheet.
about the good ones? Don't have the word cheat in it.
Well, what I'm saying is the god gave him the cheat, so I guess in that world, it's the world plus the guy with a cheat in it, so it makes sense. But in the general sense that it works within the story, it's just like it's permissible, and the MC also has permission, pretty much, to change, like has the agency to change the world, right? So it's because of that flexibility, there's so much potential for people to do whatever they want, right? And whether it's slice of life stuff about cooking, they want to make it about you know elves and Tolkienish high fantasy, whatever they want to make it about, building technology or teaching people Nippongonese, Japanese cuisine of the finest gods, whatever. It's an omelet. Wow.
The legendary spice, mayonnaise.
Yeah, the legendary miso, but do whatever, and there's so much sort of flexibility, right? And again, it's much easier because most of the culture is based, most of the subculture is based around writing for light novels and web novels and stuff like that. So it's very sort of easy to kind of shit up. But as Nir said, the weakness of it is that that sort of becomes its downside sometimes. And I would like to focus a little bit more upon what the community, what the culture has ended up, which is again all this feudal Europe, fucking high fantasy. I have all these girls around me, superpower kind of shit, right? And this is it's so lazy. And the worst part is not only is it lazy, it's like the thing that irks me is like when people make new isekai light novels, right? Or isekai web novels, and they're sort of riffing off this variant, right? It's not like they're riffing off it in a unique way, right? It's like um having it in a unique way would be like maybe instead of coming in as an adventurer or him adventuring, he's the farmer instead or whatever, right? That's an actual like a unique variant because they're really doing something different, but or something that like significantly changes the plot. But in a lot of these, because they've sort of smelt the blood in the water and they've sort of been like, oh, this is what people like, a lot of it kind of just ends up being more-ish, right? Which is like more girls, more superpowers, more crafting, more elf slave auctions, more fucking I don't know, just like bar tavern fights, fighting off the goons, whatever it is. There's just more of this bullshit like stuff that everybody does, right? It's very like it's too much. It's too much, and it's not that impressive. It wasn't very impressive the first couple of times, and it's not impressive in my 50th light novel viewing. So I think that's the bad thing, where it's like it's not really the genre so much, the hook so much, as it is the general culture that's built around it. Everybody's kind of being very lazy and doing the same-ish kind of stuff, but just adding more girls or adding more, you know, swords or whatever it is, right? So that's a little bit tiring. Um, so I guess I do want to wrap this up. We we did end up spending a surprising amount of time, and this is even only just like a surface level discussion, right? You could definitely go on talking about a bunch of specific stuff, but to
What
wrap it up,
is the strongest isekai?
strongest isekai. But just to wrap it up, what do you guys think is the future of if you guys had to predict one somewhat specific thing about the future of the genre or the future of the culture, whatever isekai means to you, right? If you guys had to predict one relatively specific thing that'll happen within the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, right? What do you think it will be? We'll start with Nier.
Fuck,
Oh,
man,
oh,
I don't know.
I got three answers to this.
One thing, please. One thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell you the next three changes straight up, but okay.
I don't know. In terms of like specifically isekai,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I feel like the genre will maybe die off. Like
Okay.
I don't know about die off, but
Well, it'll modestly
it'll
into something that's
it'll
like
never die
definitely
it'll
off.
taper out. Right. Like I feel like it has to go somewhere different where it is now
Okay.
because I don't know. I unless Japanese readers are just complicit in reading like the absolute fucking garbage that is currently coming out, with like the very rare, decent series. Um, I feel like either the writers are gonna get filtered out, in terms of like the bad and the good, and eventually the actually decent stuff will make it to the top, or it'll just like people will just stop reading it. I don't know. It's tricky, right?
I think one specific thing I think will happen is that, at least in terms of like more mainstream stuff like harem or manga or whatever, and you can kind of see this already happening, right? Is that it'll, I think, because of how the community is. Yeah, so Tokyo actually stole the word I was going to use almost. Um, it'll kind of plateau, but I think more than plateau, it's going to start sort of lodging itself squarely into the crowd of people who also watch sort of, the regular like harem, rom-com, stuff like that. Um, slower pace kind of stuff with the girls, and then kind of Duke for supremacy, if that makes sense, right? Where it's just like they're kind of like, you're either going to have your school fantasy, harem kind of thing, or you're going to have your isekai, you know, magic harem thing, right? And it's going to there. I think they're going to kind of like duke each other out and kind of settle into, you know, that sort of place, right? I don't really see too much stuff, really going into like, like randomly devolving into, more mecha heavy or more steampunk heavy or whatever. I think the base stable thing is all in like the harem rom-com place
Right.
with isekai. Toast, what about you? One thing about the future of isekai.
Do you want me to name the trends that will happen in the next 10 years? Because I can.
One thing, please.
I'd say go for it. Why not?
Yeah.
What do you think's gonna happen in the next 10 years?
We've already started down the villainous arc of Isekai
'Cause I
with
kind of need this for my.
we already started down the villainous arc, so we're gonna go down that arc for a while, because the villainous stuff is the good part, is the good stuff. Not just villainous, but also female leads for Isekai. That also will fall under the same genre.
Decade of the woman.
Can't say that.
Wait, what? Why not?
Yeah, you can't say that,
You
bro.
can't say
That's
you
like-
can't say that. That's sexist.
Wait, why is it? Why is this sexist?
Anyway, after the villainous arc, we get to the good stuff. Spire, your favorite, the revenge arc.
You get there?
The dark gritty isekais that have disappeared. They're gonna come back in full force. You thought Ari Furito was just the beginning? Well, it was. But then it became lighthearted and no one cares. I'm talking about the real stuff, like Kanzen Healer. Yeah, that one. Shield Hero. No one cares about that.
Hmm.
Then after that, we go back into the real. We go back to the retro era of isekai, the high fantasy types where nothing really happened. It says there's an isekai that like once, and then they never mention it again. That's gonna be the golden age of isekai, where the good stuff comes out. Then you get the Korean isekais. Those are after that. You know the
League of
ones.
Their own, huh?
Second life ranker solo leveling. Yeah, some of them will be good. Most of them will be bad. The gamer. I want the gamer. That one's good. After that, who knows? Maybe the Minecraft isekai. But please, I don't like that one, so no thanks.
Okay, so I guess with that, last but
I
definitely
mean,
not least,
I mean, if you
What?
want to include the slow life ones, those are boring. So I'm gonna exclude those. I don't care about your slave harem.
So there's a depressing part of everything Toast just most depressing part of everything Toast just listed there to me is the fact that very clearly all the exact same fucking setting.
Yeah,
So
they
that's
are.
fun.
Well, yes.
That was literally what I was gonna say. Was I really think it's gonna start teetering off if it doesn't change like settings drastically, right? Like I remember you had mentioned at one point in the chat like cyberpunk or some shit like that, and I'm just like, where are those? those don't exist.
Post-apocalyptic or
They did it.
cyberpunk? Which one?
No, cyberpunk.
Either or, realistically, there's no isekai that's like fucking non like fantasy or medieval setting at this point.
Yeah,
There's the one. There's the one where the dude gets isekai into his space battleship. That one was kind of iffy.
All right. Well, I mean, at least there's that. But either way, as far as like animated, it's like we got nothing
Yeah.
other than medieval or high fantasy shit right now. If that doesn't change in the future,
It's
I feel like
not for a
people
long
are gonna
time.
they're gonna have to get fucking sick of high fantasy, right? Like
Not if
we
it's
don't even really
interesting.
have trapped in an MMO show.
You should talk to the Lord of the Rings fans still. Yeah,
You
but,
like that
yeah.
I
Game
mean,
of
that's
Thrones?
fine. That's like a series fan. I mean, like again, there's that, but I just feel like as far as Isekai goes, it's like just not like having a plethora of new series that are all in the same setting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. It's like, yeah, we can say like Game of Thrones fans or um, like Lord of the Rings fans or something like that, but it's like, well, they're still fans of those series, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to be hard pressed to find someone out there who's like, yeah, I love,
I love Star Wars.
all
Rise of
of these.
Skywalker.
Well, I mean, not even that. More of just like, yeah, I love Tolkien. I love Warcraft. I love Game of Thrones. I love like someone who's like sitting there and they like every single series that's like a fantasy or high fantasy series, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like eventually like people are just gonna get sick of it. They're gonna get tired of it. They're gonna still like the original series that they like, but they're not gonna like whatever this new series that's coming just because it's high fantasy.
Right,
Could be
right, right.
wrong about that. I feel like that's in all likelihood what's going to happen, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
only so many times you can see the same fucking setting especially in an anime, like over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, these series are already not being the most popular series out to begin with. I don't know. I don't think that they're quite what everyone's realistically watching.
Right, 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 right. Okay. Uh, so I guess with that, again, we are done here for the Isekai talk. Again,
We're never
actually,
done. Isekai is forever eternal.
I actually didn't expect this to take this long with this little. I mean, of sort of the starting point. But obviously, everybody, especially these days, um, more or less has a pretty strong opinion on this topic once you've watched or read enough stuff relating to this. So, you know, obviously we went on a lot of sort of very interesting perspectives, and thank you to obviously Dark, Near, and Toast for uh, engaging with everybody here. But I just want to round our podcast off actually still by doing the news and quick shoutouts and callouts. I'm going to be going through the news really pretty quickly because it's not a lot of the non-people news isn't that exciting. Because obviously of the global issues that's been happening these days. But I'll go through them real quick. First, Toei Animation announced the winners for its 100-year anime project contest for original anime last Friday. So this is like the one where they gather together like all the famous like judges or whatever, right? And
Yeah.
then they had the Toei Animation stuff. So the winner, wins 9,000 US dollars ish. Um, second place 4,600 US dollars, and third place 2,700 US dollars. The winners include the grand prize goes to Donguri Tsushin Rescue Tanjo, Tenba Tenku Kaketeike. The birth of the Acorn News Rescue Service. Let the Pegasus fly through the sky. And then the president's special prize goes to Pygmalion no Orange, or Pygmalion's Orange, obviously. Excellence Awards, Acorns goes to Paint the Earth, or Paint the Earth, Ride on Lion, Amedate Saisai. Even the rain is multicolored, or in English. Honorable mentions goes to Meteor Gatherer and Kurage no Hone, or a jellyfish's bones. So Toei Animation launched the contest last year, and these are sort of the winners. So please congratulate them. I'm gonna skip through a little bit of this here. So Bandai Namco Arts and anime studio 8-Bit both announced on Monday that they have entered into a business partnership to focus on producing animation-based video works and related content. The partnership will produce the upcoming Slime Diaries, time that I got reincarnated as a slime, or Tensura Nikki Tensei Shitara Slime Ken, television anime spin-off as their first project. So, 8-Bit, if you guys don't know, I think they've done a lot of stuff by now, right? Yeah, animation production, right? They've done a lot of sort of, they've done Yamano Susume, Grisaya stuff. I forget, they did Infinite Stratos, right? They've done a lot of stuff by now. Mahoka. Uh, but yeah, so this will be pretty interesting to see what direction they'll go or like what specific projects they'll do. So, and last non-person piece of news. So again, I'm gonna skip over here a little bit. So Japan's parliament enacted the proposed revised copyright law on Friday to expand the law to punish those who knowingly download illegally uploaded or pirated manga, magazines, and academic works. The revised law will go into effect on January 1st. The revision also bans quote-unquote leech sites that aggregate and provide hyperlinks to pirated media starting on October 1st. So they approved the proposed bill on March 10th. So before it was just about like music and videos, but now it's all about, even just like digital paperwork. So this will be this will be pretty interesting because again, right now it's just like the ways that Japan has been sort of enforcing this has been very sketch. Like they've had a couple of big names, right? But beyond that, it's like, yeah, don't do this, guys. Which is very, you know what I mean? It's very, it's not great. But to help, Japan's Content Overseas Distribution Association, or CODA, an organization that aims to reduce worldwide piracy and actively promote the international distribution of Japanese content, began posting manga specifically created to counter piracy on its official website as part of the quote-unquote Manga Anime Guardians project on Friday.
Hold on a
The website.
second. Do you mean to tell me are they even slightly starting to learn that ease of access gets rid of piracy?
Yeah. The best part is if they'll be like I the funny part is if this thing ends up getting pirated too. But the website will release 4 anti-piracy manga by different creators every Friday until July 3rd, for a total of 16 manga, blah blah.
Oh, what
Each
the
manga will
fuck?
have an
I didn't know you meant that.
Oh no. They're
I
making
didn't
manga
know
that are
the
promoting
manga was
anti-piracy.
promote. I
No, no,
thought they
no,
were
no,
posting like
no, no,
manga
no,
to
no, no,
be
no, no,
like,
no, no,
yeah,
no.
if you like
Oh no!
pay a
You
little bit
think
of
Japan is
money,
that
you can.
selfless? You're insane.
Yeah, you know what? That's why I was like, oh, are they learning? No, never mind. They haven't learned a
No,
fucking thing.
no. The worst part is, it's like if they made things more accessible, it will probably be so much better for them in the long. But they're literally going out of the way to like create weird promotion material.
Yeah, they're like, we're gonna promote anti-piracy, and it's like, how are you gonna do that? Well, we're making the anti-piracy manga. How do you get it? So you pay us $350, and you get a digital copy with
Yeah,
watermark.
it's
But if you give us 500, you can remove the watermark. Sounds like a deal?
but yeah, it's they'll these manga will be promoting anti-piracy, blah 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 blah. Well, there's not too much other to say other than that, but again, I just think obviously there needs to be a change in the Japanese model, and digitalization is a good way to go, but just I don't think these like enforcing whatever is going to work very well.
I
But yeah,
mean, it's gonna take a lot, right? Because it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you're still gonna have it
It's the
until
Hydra.
you
It's the
don't have
Hydra.
fucking 60 fucking dollar Blu-rays with 2 episodes on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what is it? Pre-Kone has like 70,000 yen Blu-rays, and there's 4 volumes of it. Like, I'm
Mhm.
sure.
And again,
Um,
there's just it's the Hydra, right? Like you cut off one head, like 2, 3 pop up. Like, again,
yeah. I mean, it's also a hydra of like, it's not even just a hydra of piracy sites and aggregation sites. It's a hydra of like them fucking the entire industry, right? Because it's like you're not gonna have Blu-rays that are reasonably priced when they're fucking streaming, like in other countries, gives them $0 fucking dollars, right?
Mhm.
Like, if you have, shit like Crunchyroll that buys up licenses and then just like for little to no money and then just shits out garbage subs, and that's how people abroad just get the anime.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
you're
right.
still gonna have those $60 fucking Blu-rays.
But yeah, hopefully, uh, things don't come too much to a heat, or hopefully there's no bubble that gets popped. But moving on to the people news, some interesting stuff here. The Mainichi Shimbun newspaper reported on Wednesday that the Tokyo Public Prosecutor's Office has charged the anime studio Ufotable and Ufotable's founder, representative director, and president Hikaru Kondo with violating the Corporation Tax Act and the Consumption Tax Act by failing to pay 139 million yen, which is about $1.28 million in U.S. currency, in taxes. The Mainichi Shimbun cited a source close to the investigation to report that Kondo purportedly hid about 30% of the proceeds from some of Ufotable's anime-themed restaurants in Tokyo and stored them in a private safe at home.
Yeah, see, I know
So
I saw people making jokes about this shit, like, oh yeah, that's why the animation looks like, and it's like, dude, they're not reinvesting that shit, they're fucking stealing it. Like, what? You think they're
like
using that money? You think they're saving
it's
money?
going
No, they're just
straight into
stealing
that
all
one
of it.
guy's pockets. Yeah. I hope Ufotable doesn't get the bad end of the stick from this. Although I guess they already had because they've lost the money. But yeah, it's just very unfortunate. Next, staff of the San Antonio-based convention, San Japan, announced on Saturday that Chairman Dave Henkin will step down immediately following "quote-unquote" hurtful and ignorant comments he made on his private Twitter account. Henkin wrote in a private post that the reason the convention doesn't book people of color guests is because the convention is often asked to book "quote-unquote" sexual predators and popular asshole divas, and those guests bring more money. Show up by the hundreds with cash to people of color guests, and then I'll book them, Henkin wrote on Thursday. He later followed with a public apology on his Facebook account the same day.
You don't
Just
say.
all right. Why he got
You
kicked?
should probably do the whole, like, hey, I'll have people of color guests, and then
You should
there's
probably
no
not have
money from
tweeted
it.
this shit in the first place. It's
Yeah,
like
but
why?
it's like when you're gonna tweet something like that, also keep in mind what you're saying. You're like, yeah, how about you show up first and then I'll have a guest? It's like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Putting the cart before the horse. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you kind of need to have those guests. And yeah, if that all of a sudden just like becomes detrimental, then criticize people
Yeah.
or like the
It's like
culture.
it's like essentially also what you're implying is like, sorry, we can't really find like a single, you know, good good person of color, like interesting person of color. They're all boring people. Sorry guys. Which is a little bit, I don't know. And then he like, what is it? He like backhanded everybody else too, like white people too, because he was just like, what is it? He's like, I'd rather invite sexual predators or some shit like that, or whatever it was. That was
Rather
really
invite
weird.
sexual predators than white people.
Yeah. Uh,
Based.
nice. But anyways, um,
Well, Japan has a lot of them, so.
Do you
yeah.
think they'll invite that one guy who wrote Volcano High?
Jesus. Anyways, next. Talent management agency Production Ogi announced on Monday that Watanabe Mayu, is retiring from the entertainment industry for quote-unquote health reasons. So she's been kind of, her health has been declining for years with no sign of recovery. And blah blah. So Production Ogi essentially later terminated her contract on Saturday. She was a former member of the AKB48 idol group, and then later on she played various roles and stuff like Precure and so on and so forth. Please wish her the best of luck in future travels. Next, arranger and sound engineer Nagi announced on Monday that composer and pianist Kamachi Ai passed away at the age of 48 on May 30th. So, Kamachi is perhaps best known as part of the music duo Avant-Garde Eyes, where she composed music alongside arranger and sound engineer Tatsuo Nage Nakami. Together, the duo collaborated on the composition and arrangement of many songs for anime, and are notable for their collaboration with singer Leah on Doll, which is from a Gunslinger Girl, as well as further collaborations with Leah and writer slash musician Jun Maeda on Planet After Story opener, as well as the theme song for Angel Beats and collaborations for Charlotte. So please wish her family and friends condolences. Composer and arranger Hattori Katsuhisa passed away due to heart failure at a hospital in Tokyo on Thursday at 8:42 a.m. at the age of 83. So he, sort of classical musician, but he also did compose music for anime such as Crest of the Stars, Banner of the Stars, Fist of the North Star, Infinite Rivals, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Sushi Ninja, and In the Beginning, the Bible Stories. So he and his son also produced Symphonic Suite Final Fantasy, first orchestral Final Fantasy music CD for game music composer Uematsu Nobuo Uematsu. So please wish his family and friends condolences. Finally, manga creator Akiyama George, real name Akiyama Yuji, passed away on May 12th at the age of 77. So he wrote Gaikotsu-kun in 1966, then later on wrote Hagure Gumo, stuff like that, Ashura, Steka, 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 Steka Taki Hitobito, and also Koiko no Mainichi. So all of these, pretty popular manga back in the day. So please wish his family and friends condolences. And with that, we come now to our shoutouts and callouts. Everybody here gets one shoutout and one callout each. And the shoutout can be, any one thing that you want to praise, person, place, or thing. Give 5 out of 5. Clap it on the back. Compliment it, whatever. And the callout is exactly the opposite, right? Something that you want to insult, step on, look down. The girls like an anime where they are disgusted by the pervert main character, right? That sort of look. 0 out of 10, any person, place, or thing. And today we start with Toast.
What? Are you on Shoutouts and Callouts already? Alright. Shut up! VTubers. Pretty cool.
Okay, and
So
your
it's
call
about time Flair got her 3 dates. She's been delayed 3 months.
All
Not,
right.
not
And your
cool.
call-out.
VTubers are cool. You guys should invest in them. They're the future.
Yeah, how do I start my own VTuber?
Did you
How do I
apply?
start my
What do I
own
need?
YouTuber company?
Did you apply for HoloLive English edition? I've heard they're looking for translators. Spire.
I applied to become a HoloLive VTuber, dude.
Yeah.
Nice.
I applied to become an entire company. Sorry, guys.
I'm wondering
But-
who will take the mantle of Coco Kane.
Anyways, what's your call up?
Dang, what was it? It had something to do with VTubers, but it was I forgot.
Fuck.
Pass.
Okay.
I'll think about it.
Dark.
Fuck. Shout out to like, 3 of the games out of like the 4 hours of fucking
Oh, now I remember.
semi E3 conferences I've watched to this point today. Cause like those kind of suck. The PC game show fucking sucked. But there's a cool game, Potionomics, that was pretty fun. So that's cool. And my call out is going to be to call out FF14 in general. This mount grind sucks ass. 47 runs into 48 runs into this this same boss.
Nice.
Blows. So that sucks. And also I've met very, very stupid fucking players in the past couple of days. So it's good to be back.
Nice. All right. What about Nier?
Wowee. I forget. Did I call out Arc System Works last episode?
I don't think you did actually.
No. Either way, I'm gonna call out Harada.
Rollback.
Yeah. I don't think Harada knows what rollback means. But you know,
Means the netcode's
uh,
good, bro. You've
yeah.
seen the Maximilian videos?
Yeah. But yeah, Harada on Twitter. What was it like 2 days ago? Some guy, talking shit about Tekken 7, right? So
Right.
Harada, like the mature adult that he is, replied to him on Twitter and insulted him, and was like, Tekken actually has rollback, okay? And then, there were other developers in the replies being like, hey, you want to clarify this? Because I don't think you know what you're talking about. And he basically just told them to go fuck themselves. Because, Harada is a very mature individual.
The thing is,
Um,
it's like, can I say something about this? Like, I guess not to sound too boomer, but it's like this modern age of Twitter. But it's like, yeah, I get the whole like, oh, these guys are so real, and it's like Kamiya and Harada and stuff like that. But it's like,
Fuck
can
Kamiya.
oh,
Fucking
can I
bitch.
let me finish? But can we not go overboard? Please? Like, come on, guys, just it's Twitter. Yeah, anyways, keep going. Yeah.
yeah. Just like, I don't know. Just the way I've seen Harada like act on Twitter, not only to like people who are, like if you're gonna spurg out and insult people that are insulting the game you made, like,
Mm.
if you want to act like that, sure, I guess go for it, right?
Right, but you have to be right. You have to be correct.
But like, you have people responding to you that are like other developers, other developers that have worked on rollback and netcode that are like, hey, they're politely saying, hey, you want to like clarify what exactly you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and then he tells them to go fuck themselves, right? And then it's like,
Like, come
you're
on.
just a fucking asshole. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
there's no more cool guy. I don't give a shit persona. It's just you being a fucking dickhead. You know.
Oh, and also proving you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about anyway.
Yeah,
So
like
it's like even you talking shit to the original guy, it's like
it's
that's
dumb.
now
You know,
completely
I think it's really childish. It's really dumb. Um, I don't think you should act like that, especially towards fucking fans. But here we are, right? So
Right.
I don't know. I think it's silly.
Okay.
For my shout out, I'm not too sure. Shout out to my godlike gotcha luck lately. Pretty epic.
God, I fucking like this. Like somebody's been talking to me about like gotcha stuff recently, and it's like he's been telling me like stories about people who like either like can't understand why people have to struggle so hard to get the stuff they want because the motherfucker is just like a luck sack, or people who are like, why do you guys play gotcha games at all? I'm like, look, I'm not saying it's like gotcha games are like healthy for you, but it's like if you can't understand why people become addicted to stuff, it's like I don't know what to
so
tell
I can get
you.
the cute girl and fucking send a screenshot to someone who doesn't have that and piss them
Yeah.
off.
But yeah, that's been fucking luck sacks is all I want to say. But yeah, Nier, you're just gonna say the gotcha luck mainly, right?
Yeah, man, I rolled.
Fuck
I was out
you.
here. I was saving my quartz in FGO. And the Sherlock Holmes banner dropped, and I'm like, damn, I should really be saving. But I really want Sherlock Holmes.
Right, right.
And so I dropped something like 120 quartz,
Right.
which is like 10 rolls ish.
Right.
And I didn't get them. I was like, fuck. And then, out of nowhere, they're like, hey, here's this like weird, set amount of downloads campaign. Here's a bunch of quartz. It's like, oh, nice. And then I was doing single rolls, and I got them on the last one. And I was like, damn, PogChamp. And then the next event rolled by, and Okita Soji Alter was up, right? And I was like, I've got like one ticket. I'm gonna spend it. And it's like, bam, there she is. And it's like,
Motherfucker.
Jesus Christ, It's like,
Motherfucker.
This
it's
dude's
pretty
getting
cool.
coronavirus next week. I'm telling you.
Yeah, probably. But it's
He's
worth it.
literally gonna just have like a man just approach his front door with with like a bat and just like fucking crack him over the head for no reason. But anyways, good to hear that you have come the luck sack itself. Anyways, Toast, did you have?
I remember now.
Yes.
My call out is to that one video. Who is best Hololive girl? And then you can obviously tell from that
retards.
this
Yeah,
person
what's the best?
this person gives all these points about, hey, who's best Hololive girl? Hato, and they bring up Matsuri, and he even said something like, I'm only gonna bring up the most popular Hololive girls because I don't know the rest. And I was like, why are you even here?
Look, I only know 2 Hollow, but I have to say.
And then he was
I'm
all
an expert.
Didn't even watch the anime. I just read the Reddit and Twitter.
This
posts.
person was all, Fubuki's a meme queen, but she's not best girl. Matsuri's a lolicon, she's not best girl. And I'm like, why are you bringing up the most popular Hololivers if you're gonna automatically, like,
Shit on
bring them out of the
Bring
running?
them
And I'm
race,
like,
right,
yeah. If you're gonna do who's
I mean,
best
at that point,
Hololive
make a
girl,
fucking tier list.
yeah,
yeah, just make it.
the tier list is your favorite, and then the rest. That's it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was gonna say. It's like the tier list is like, yeah, well we have like 2 fucking Matsuri and Fubuki at the top, and then all the others at D.
Because if you're gonna do that, count them all, not just the most popular ones. The only saving grace was that one dude, because I think it was a three people talking about it.
Jesus.
There was the one dude who's only does the tier
council.
list. The second dude who's perving on Aqua, she was like, God, I want to kiss Aqua, and I'm like, ew, what's wrong with
Ew.
you? And then the one,
Fuck, who the fuck says
Oh,
that? I feel like that's more. That's like the
That's,
most disgusting thing I've heard.
like genuine cringe.
Like you could have told me like oh man, I want to fuck Aqua, and like that to me would have been less offensive to hear. Like I want to kiss this VTuber.
I want to smooch.
but yeah, the saving grace is the last guy who was making points about Suisei, and I was like, this guy knows what's up. This guy is the only knowledgeable person, maybe the second guy, but he's kind of weird. Yeah, I'll link the video later.
Please don't.
I will.
Please don't.
I'll do my shout.
It's terrible.
I'll do my shout out to call it. My shout out is actually pretty backhanded here. I want to shout out to Samurai Showdown 2019 for releasing on Epic Games Store.
Haha,
Epic
at
Games Store
full
aside-
price.
No,
Epic
no, no,
shill,
yeah,
epic shill, epic shill.
Epic Games Store aside, it has all the flaws from its original incarnation on the PS4. It has unique flaws to the PC. It's $50 full price.
Is
It's
this a shout out or a call out?
Shh, wait a minute. It's 50. It's $50 base. It's $90 with all the DLC, with probably a new one coming pretty soon. And it's been released like a year plus late. So I want to shout it out for. It's because I don't have to waste money and I feel okay about pirating it. Fuck you. And my call out goes to something I think will be very obvious once I say it. Goes out to the recent sort of spat of goes to Crunchyroll mainly, but the impetus for this was the recent sort of discussion that the Twitter world had right in the past week or so, right?
Yeah.
The furry one?
Wait, which discussion?
The one where
But the new office.
the new office, and then that spawned a discussion about like how come you guys are making a new office when you guys are literally just like paying
Not paying people.
not pay people, yeah, do actual like translation work, which is the core of the Crunchyroll,
The
you know,
entire
thing, right?
company.
Yeah,
Well, the
which
problem
is
is you see those replies that are like, dude, it's only 20 minutes. You should be able to do that in like fucking 2 hours.
It's not true. And even if you could do it in 2 hours, you're still not really getting paid that great.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, in
but
general,
you're
some
still
guy.
being compared to like McDonald's wages, so it's like,
Yeah,
oh my god, it's very like, again, it's very, how do I say this? It's like, I think most people okay, so I think there are three types of people in the anime sort of community. There are people that don't know about the shit that Crunchyroll does, or are like only extremely vaguely aware of it, and they're just like, wow, Crunchyroll, that's anime, wow. And then there's a
I
second
love
type
anime.
there's a second type where it's like they kind of know about the things that Crunchyroll does, but then they're like, well, it's okay if it's not me. So I mean, Crunchyroll is still anime, right? So then they keep just supporting it, right? And then there are the people who know what Crunchyroll is doing, or has been what has been in the know about what Crunchyroll is like as a general sort of company community, what their model is like, what their attitude is like, whatever, and are disgusted by it. And I do want to say that our podcast is proudly anti Crunchyroll, probably since like the beginning, right?
Yeah.
unless they give us each $500 per episode.
Yeah. I don't know whether there was a time where Kenton might have been like, I'm okay with Crunchyroll, or like, I think most of us were pretty much all always like, fuck Crunchyroll. But
But I love their meme subs.
memes.
And
But
topical.
I mean, for a while,
prison school
I was
subs.
just like using it. Like, I had a subscription. I was using their subs, and then it was like, I forget what show it was, but it was before
Prison
the
School.
podcast. I was watching it, and I was like, this is fucking what the fuck? And then like
was it
just
Suited to the
kinda...
Children?
No,
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 no.
no, 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 no,
It was
no, no, before
Kaguya-sama.
I even like knew of the podcast, and
Oh,
then
okay,
like
okay.
after a while, I was just like, it wasn't even like meme subs. It was just like
Bad.
really bad errors and shit, and I was just like, and the player not working. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. The player is still like their site, which is like the
Player
majority of
still
like
doesn't
fucking-
work. I think.
like the player stuff. Obviously the subs, the general sort of like community like things, which is again like the things that we're describing is like 80-90% of what Crunchyroll actually does, like at its base. And the like, what are we talking about here, right? Like,
Well, the problem
so,
is that Crunchyroll sells itself as a brand more so than it actually
yeah,
trying to sell you subs.
yeah,
It's the
I
same reason
completely
why you
agree.
have like Crunchyroll hiring Mika Burton. And it's like, like I think Mika is talented as like a on-camera personality, but Crunchyroll has no business paying someone like Mika Burton to do anything. What the fuck are you doing? You don't even have subtitles. Why is she producing content?
Right, exactly. Why are you making fucking High Guardian Spice or whatever the fuck it is when,
I
you
mean,
should be
even that,
subbing
it's like a little bit more excusable than like,
because it's more
why are
like
you
anime
making
specific.
fucking anime police
Yeah,
with fucking Pro Z?
yeah.
What are you doing?
That guy's cool
Like,
though.
you're not a fucking YouTube channel.
Right.
That guy's cool. What's he doing with Crunchyroll though?
He did that really awful, awful anime police show that was like a fucking, may as well have been like a Freddie Wong show.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like Video Game High School or whatever the fuck they were.
Yeah,
That's
there you
right, yeah.
go. Pretty much. That was the same vibe I got.
Yeah, but in general, like the thing I wanted to focus on, it was just like fucking. I don't know. I just feel like it's 2020, right? It's like how how are do we have how do we have this little talk about how shitty of a job Crunchyroll is doing? And like it wouldn't even be like that important if it wasn't for the fact that like Crunchyroll has a vice grip on a lot of the localizations and stuff, that's coming to the West for English speaker. So like, it's just really frustrating how this one really shitty company does shitty jobs on everything that they do and isn't even paying proper wages to the core of their service, right? Is just allowed to roam like this, and like people are just like, "Oh, thank you so much, Crunchyroll. You're fucking anime. Oh my god, just like it's so frustrating." That's my call out. And with that, I guess we are done for today. Sorry for ending it all on that abrupt note there. But I guess next time we will probably have another. Likely, we will have another roundtable here. We will obviously try to keep you updated as early as possible. But next podcast will most likely be the episode before you know other anime start. The spring anime restart again, right? And
Here's hoping.
and the summer anime start question mark ish. So we're probably going to have a round table discussion. I think we were deciding on previews, but we're going to think about that depending on the size of the sort of the lineup that's coming up. But yeah, again, we'll keep you updated. And again, if you like what we do, we stream every other Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at twitch.tv/4PlayerAnimecast. That's with the numeral 4, where we do our live recording of the podcast and we talk about the latest and greatest in Japanese animation and Japanese anime, manga, light novels, web novels, visual novels, and so much more. So visit us here. You can view the archived VOD or the highlight here of all of our episodes. So check us out here. Check us out on our YouTube channel, of course. We have VOD in YouTube format, so you can, if you want that, you can check out there as well. Check us out on our social media on Facebook and on Twitter, handle at 4PPAnimeCast for more information and updates. And with that, we'll see you next time.